sad. Every time I see this shirt, I see your face. I'm like, fuck. It's so.
He wore it at whatever meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. I was like, literally, man. I know what's gonna get on me after wearing it. You wear the ring. Oh no! Last time you actually got it pressed.
I'm running out of
I may have to just
dry cleaning every 6 months when I run out.
I may just start a dry cleaning business so I can play your shirts. And free delivery and like free delivery and free.
I never, I got like X amount of 20 reps last week. Oh, I said probably 9 months. So every 9 months, I was like,
And she's making your check account.
thank you.
Yeah, you guys have the QR code down there.
Alright, well, I'm going to test the volume. We'll get this thing going.
Yeah, turn it on. That thing works.
Oh, it does?
Yeah, you just get a point over here.
Alright, cool.
Oh, okay.
Good, we're like almost getting more organized every day, huh?
Harry.
You got the,
No, he's already been bought by the-
oh, is this new? Are you, or
Yeah, the stand is. Well, you know, Amazon.
Amazon. It's the best, what is it, like
But it's new.
$18 or something stupid?
About, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I got two of them.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't realize that's what you look like. But nice to meet you. Yeah. You sent me that email.
I guess we'll test the volume later.
Yeah, I know the farm thing. The farm.
I tested it earlier. It should be at a good enough volume to not be too loud.
Yeah, but well, I mean, and then what, are we still struggling with this mic?
Not really.
It's working?
Yeah, it should. It was making.
Okay, well, whatever. All right, we'll worry about it. Okay, cool. All right, so
Thank you.
that girl.
You know, so I forget when it was 6 years ago, but
I swear to God, I need to start telling her 5:30.
they haven't said much. They're like, you know, we're working on it.
They seem really shitty lately. They used to do good. Like they used to be able to figure it out and tell you yes, no. Lately, I'm saying that they just respond saying we couldn't figure it out. Sorry, we're not going to charge you.
Yeah, they haven't charged me anything as of yet, but so they're saying, you know, oh well, it typically takes 30 to 90 days, but you know, this is a deceased owner that we're trying to get, and
thinking of how to
records, and it's COVID. You know,
Well, dealing with the government is bad right now
Yeah.
because of that. But they're the cheapest way to go. What they tell you, $2,000 or something if they get rid of it?
You need,
I don't remember anything.
$2,000 to $2,500
Yeah.
usually. I do know someone that they could do it maybe for 80.
Yeah,
Pay me $300 to cancel.
it just cancels it on like for sure.
Like, cancel tomorrow, so like, it's okay. If they have kind of taken a gamble, they go in there.
yeah, they don't get ready.
Consider that because it's really
Like they're like,
It is for a lot of us.
I just get it.
if you're interested, they'll ask you. And I just like become an attorney.
Yeah.
An attorney has a lot of cancel ones. The problem being if they cancel it, hey, oh, the attorney owes you money. So it's kind of like, you charge it right enough time. But once you get bitten by one, you have the money to cover it kind of thing.
Yeah. I'll definitely consider it. I think I'll give it a couple, 3 more weeks and see.
That's why I tell people it's required because they're far cheaper if they finally do it.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll give them 4 months. Right now it's over 3 months.
They're not going to tell it for anything. They tell you within 30 days usually.
Yeah, they told me it's usually 30 to 90, but
Yeah, I bet they're not going to do it.
yeah.
But that's a little surprising. That should have been an easy one to track down because they weren't really live. Took longer. Yeah, that's an option if there's that much meat on the bone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've already done all that work on everything else.
I've seen him do the sugar in the last couple of months.
ones, I'm bumped up a little bit on my spread load, but I'm still. I took a year, stopped, doping more, I'm sure. Wow. Yeah, you heard that. What, 75? It wasn't about 20. Money works for you. Athlete versus active. Yeah, I'm vaccinated. So I'm over. Yeah. It's kind of weird because you don't know elbows, maybe.
Right, yeah. This damn thing.
Afterwards.
Right. Oh, man. I forgot to play bars.
What do you do in real estate?
Realtor. We also do burgers. What about you?
I do it. Primarily, I'm a landlord. I love to I did it all.
I already
Yeah, I did it all. I can show you an email receipt. But I do a lot of messy stuff like so I go after players, just stuff that nobody wants to deal with. Because I get the best deal. I typically don't buy through wholesalers ever because none of them know how to wholesale things properly.
Yeah.
So I always
Don't put that in.
well, yeah, they try to charge it out against the ownership and clause. So shot myself in the foot. Well, for one, so I build a lot of homes in the area.
Okay.
So I have one going there now, and I got the construction loan and it appraised at 320.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then a buddy of mine sold a new construction from there for like 257 square foot.
Yeah.
And someone did a flip for 265 square foot. So now I'm gonna sell this thing for like maybe 380, maybe 4. I don't know. Right. So that's why I put my contract for it.
Yeah, right now, that's what I have buyers that want to buy. One like this shoe.
Yeah.
You can buy two, but a lot of people, yeah, we'll be done for 6 months, but we don't want any contract.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I don't mind it,
Like the market changes so much. So like the reason what maybe more the parlay with that is we were the first ones to do it. I don't know if you know Rich Ridwell. He was my old partner. We used to have a company called City Ridwell. But we since went our separate ways and still buddies and everything. But I just had a kid. I didn't know if I wanted to do it anymore. It was great for us to have. But anyway, I got back into it this year. I own a bunch of land. No competition. It costs so much. So I've been sitting on waiting, when it's all prime time.
Right, yeah, now,
So we had a house that we built up there in the earlier house that we started up there 2 years ago. And the cost at the time, we said the house was selling for like 205, right? So we let someone put it in the contract. Most of them, the damn things were 250. And we had never built a house in a crawl space before. We were new builders. Freaking, we made like $8 grand. All the damn work.
yeah, it's a lot of
We
work.
were the GCs. Yeah. So to do all that work for 15 grand, we should have made 40 at least. I might have done more, you know. And I did another one this year, this past year. The only reason I did was COVID. Because I thought, well, so we did that, sold the house for $250. That house really should have sold for $3. You know, so but anyway, I mean it is what it is. We still make good money. You do, you know. I was the lender on that deal. I got 30% cut of the profit. And I was like, man, we should have just waited. We just got nervous. And
That was exactly right, everyone did the same thing.
yeah. So, yeah, hopefully the market will stay good, man. I want to start some more. I've got 2. Well, right now I've got 2. One might be a third one. The only thing that's stopping me is that the supply chain is not this one. It's getting that's hard to get and all this stuff. I had a whole fly all the way up to trades to get rough. He hasn't responded back to me on that yet. That was yesterday when he said that. Their business going to hire a company that does like 5-6 million a year. But they give me a pretty good price for it. But still, it's like, man, I think we're going to have an issue with the trades people, man, because every deal I've heard, I've had people that feel like they do deals like Shane.
Yeah, so we're in the middle of murder. We're trying to start where we can start using version 1. We just haven't made, we're not sure how to do the hard money. We just use all our own money.
That's what I'm doing now. I'm doing my own money and I commission that construction loans. I used to use private money. I used to do it just 10 at once, but then I get paid a lot of interest, man.
Oh, yeah, it makes sense. I feel like I never really, this is a show deal. I tried this time.
You're not watching porn over there, are you?
It does.
You wait till I start speaking.
Not like 8:30.
Yeah.
When it's getting tired, it wakes me up. Danger.
I can refi out of them and keep them. And only for nothing because of, you know, what you put down, land value and all that.
Alright, you guys primarily know
You ever use Lima One? I use them a lot. That's who I do for my property. Yeah. They actually so let's say they're based out of South Carolina. Lima One Financial. I like them because well on the buy and hold side, I would say they're like 25%. I like them on new construction because they're 10% down. Which is awesome. I used to use Ruby Big Bank here a lot. And they're like 25% down. And this sucks, man. You need about 30% of the house up front to get started. You get reimbursed out of the call. Right. It's about taking it. And I think it's so you can get along with that. So I started using Lima. Lima's pretty good. I get preferential terms for getting that because I'm also new already. So I get 1.5, 7.7% new construction. Yeah. Like New Dominion, it was 25% down, like 5%.
Alright, let's do a volume check.
But anyway,
You gonna turn this on? Alright, how's that? How's that? How's that? How's that? Is that working? Is that working? Is that working?
Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, everybody. All right. Okay. 2-minute warning. I don't know what's going to happen in 2 minutes, but you've been warned.
You want me to load it up now or just give it a second?
Go ahead. Would you like another beer? All right, take it. All right.
somebody's trying to damn
give me a deal. So that way you can continue doing this meeting. And if you don't, you'll know it's your fault. Your fault why that meeting had to be discontinued because you just wouldn't wholesale me anything. But in all seriousness, I'll partner, I'll wholesale, I'm always looking for short and long-term lenders, and I'll advise on deals. And again, advising on deals, right, means that sometimes, well, most of the time, I'm not gonna buy the deal, it's not gonna make sense for us. You know, but if I go out 10 times and I get a deal, by giving good advice, you know, then it's worth it, right? So that's how that works. Where's my tech guy? Am I hitting the laser? I was hitting the laser. I was hitting the laser to make sure that it was like had battery. You know what? I wonder. Yeah, that means it works, right? Jiggle. You know, that's the one thing that we didn't test today. We always test it, and every time we test it, it works, right? But the one time, oh, there we go. The one time you don't test something, it doesn't work. That is life, right? Same way with real estate. You don't check the work, it's going to be fucked up, even though it was like perfect every time. Disclaimer, I vouch for no one and nothing, and do your own homework. So just because I speak in front of the class, just because I happen to like them, just because I happen to have a relationship with them, whatever the case may be. Is that a dinner bell? Whatever the case may be, is, you know, people are people, and some people get along with some people, and some people don't get along with other people, and I don't care, I don't want to hear about it, and if somebody fucks you, I don't care. No, I do care, I love gossip, I love Jews, I love all that shit, but I don't want to hear about me, like, having something to do with it, like, because I reference them or something. There are a lot of vanilla videos out there. This isn't one. It's rated R for probably the NC-17. However, I am trying to tone it down a little bit, and you know, by a little bit, I mean, you know, a little bit, you know. Unfortunately, viewers sometimes gets in the way of that. And I did grade myself last month, and last month I did attempt to be a little bit more cordial and more less offensive and everything like that. And my report card came in, and I was 1% less offensive. And so I'm looking to double that result and probably minimize the soapbox speeches, but that's really kind of going to drain my existence. We'll see. There's sponsorship opportunities, and we do have a brilliant genius sponsor. It's like a genius sponsor. He's awesome. If anybody that sponsors me, he's a genius. We'll talk about that later, but you guys won't care about it anyways. RP House Cleaners is my house cleaner now. He does post-construction cleanup. He also does a little bit of light demo. They do regular house cleaning and things like that too. So give them a call. Good guy. All that stuff. Alien Construction, LLC. This is Cheryl. Cheryl's not here right now, is she? No, Cheryl's not here. She'll be in the back. Buy your drinks later. But she does anything but light rehab, tree removal, and stuff like that. She managed for a company, and now she's going to manage for herself. So if you want somebody to help manage your rehab, things like that, that's what she'll do. Then we have this, the genius. How do you like that graphic? That looks good. Oh my God. Holy cow, I took what you gave to me, and I made it like 100 times better. I didn't even charge you for that yet. But I will. The invoice will be in your box. And so, well, this is so helpful. You're going to come up here and tell us how great you are. I mean, I know that you're great, right? But I don't vouch for you that you're great. And you know, come on up here. Tell us what you do, how you can make some money, and stuff like that. Let's see. Let's try this, Mike. Let's see. Mike, we're.
Hello. Hello everyone, I'm Selden. I work for a company called Fund by Wealth. We are a private lending firm, also a brokerage company. We're based in Concord. We help individuals, investors like yourself, get funding for fix and flip, rental loans, commercial, new construction, etc. There's some information about our rates right now. If you're looking for a fix and flip, it's 7.99. You have to have a decent credit score. Decent means around 760. 30-year fix, 4.99, just did a couple of closings recently. There is a prepayment penalty on that, which is 5 years. Just keep that in mind. We do offer transactional funding as well. 1% is what we charge. If I know you, we're a little bit flexible on that as well. You can reach me directly at 980-254-5355. And if you have any other questions or concerns,
Yeah, questions regarding the services and how awesome he is?
what's it, Jeff?
Do you do 100% of the rehab and part of the down payment for the purchase?
Great question. So yes, we do offer 100% of the rehab portion, anywhere between 65 to 90% of LTV.
So not for what size
For
of
your-
65?
Location. So if you're rural, some a little bit less. If you're in a really good area like Charlotte,
Yeah.
we can do it to it.
Cool.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Is that the same for new construction?
Sorry?
New construction?
Yeah.
One last question, anybody? Don, come on. He's got the money. You need it.
No, we are new investor friendly, but just keep in mind, if you're a new investor, we are gonna charge you a little bit more percentage and, points. Our points are between 2 to 4 points. So just please keep that in mind. It's gonna cost you a little bit more for us to build a relationship, but, if you do your first deal with us, if you're a new investor, the second deal, we will drop you down to 0.25 less on your points to help you save money. So,
And so, Hill, you're generally, you're most, are you generally private money for the most part, or exclusively private money, or?
It's private money in brokerage, so depending on the
Okay.
time of the year, how much we have funding available.
So basically, he's got both, right? So institutional money or some sort of like brokerage type thing, they're gonna have their rules, right? So he's gonna tell you if you fit those rules, and this is what it is. Then the other part, how did this just die? This might be for that.
Okay.
The other part is he's got private money that he utilizes, and in which that case, he's flexible in how that's utilized. And he's gonna take into account everything, the whole picture, to come up with a deal for you, right? Does that make sense?
So, one thing I do want to mention, since you brought that up, is that whenever, on our website, if you go to our website, www.fundbywealth.com, we have a tab on the top right, it's a quick quote.
This is better.
And what that does is if you fill that out, it'll send you the information about your property, and it'll let me underwrite the deal before I send you terms over. So the good thing about that is when you send that over to me, I'm kind of pre-qualifying you on the terms, and if you like the terms, you file the application. So we work a little bit backwards, just to make sure that we can fund the deal before we start the application. So. Anybody else have any other questions? 1, 2?
How fast?
How fast? Fix and flips anywhere between, depending on the loan product that I get you approved for,
I'm gonna keep it.
I would say about 12 business days, up to 30 business days, depending on location, your experience. Go ahead. What you gonna say?
Not 30 business days.
No, sorry, not 30 business days, not about, yeah, 30 days, you're right. But, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 499,
For the rental? For the rental, it's about 45 days to close.
okay, so to fix it, we have it, will be 799, then we have to do the 49.
If you would like to get it converted through us to a rental program, yes.
And it would be interest on.
For the rental,
Right.
no, it's principal and interest.
Really?
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
What about land funding? You fund land?
No, not just one.
Unless it's an incredible deal.
We do mobile home parks,
Parks, yes.
something.
Yeah, if you have a park, yes.
No, we buy.
Not the one you live in, Jeff.
You're fine.
He doesn't do primary residences.
I would want to buy the land and then drop it on strings.
Yeah.
It's a little wide, it's okay.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Okay.
How do the ties to each other?
Cool.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Okay. Didn't check the batteries either. Okay. Okay, oh, this is the favorite part, right? Stomp the chump. And guess what? Who the chump is? I'm the chump. This is where you ask me questions, and then with great confidence, I give an answer, and you are regaled scared, a little bit scared of maybe me, I don't know what I might say in response to your dumb question, I have drink. I help bribe you and alleviate the anxiousness. Oh my God, that's my phone. That is the most annoying thing ever, isn't it? Call American Express, I'll call them tomorrow. What was I gonna say? Oh, but I bribe you with a drink ticket so that you can put up with my abuse when I answer your question. Right. Oh, okay, there you go.
Would you say that house prices are going up or inflation is going up? Which one?
Ooh, would I say that house prices are going up or that inflation is going up? Yes. Well, so the reason that the house prices are skyrocketing so much and people are just like, oh my God, this is crazy, is because we have an extremely low supply. We had, basically 10 years of stunted growth, and a lot of that stunted growth had to do with building. And I saw some chart where it showed the amount of houses built per year, and it's been drastically low, from whatever, from 2009 to 2018 or whatever, right? And that's because basically I wouldn't want to blame it on Obama or anything, but it's fucking his fault. But for whatever reason, there's been no growth of new construction, our homes being built, right? And even still today, right? So like the banks, right? They can only lend so much to new construction, right? They all have to meet parameters, and a lot of banks are hitting those high marks where they can't even lend out to new construction anymore because it's full. Does that make sense? So there's still restrictions because the feds put so many restrictions after the crash on loans and everything else like that, and all the big builders went out of business and stuff like this. And so there just has not been any new housing stock, right? And so then also, so you got that factor of no new housing stock. Then you have all the millennials, right? That have been scared shitless since they came out of college or whatever, doing stuff, and they don't want to buy a house. And household formation has been delayed, right? So you have a confluence of all these things. So now everybody's like, oh, well, I'm gonna go buy a house, right? So now the millennials are finally getting off their ass buying houses, right? And then when they buy a house, like, because they're buying it for like an $800,000 starter home, right? So you have no houses being built, everybody on the sidelines, particularly millennials, forming their households later, and all of this basically stunted growth that has led into a perfect storm of well, now we want a house, right? And you just can't build 50 million houses overnight, and so that's what we're reaching into. And this will go on for another 2 or 3 years. So I have a parameter. So everybody's like, oh, it's going to crash, right? It's going to crash. It's like, well, as long as supply is in short demand, you can't have a crash. Just by definition, you guys can just, go fucking Google that shit if you want to. But here's how you know. And this is something that I take very seriously, and I do a research at least once a month or every month, is that you have to go to a strip club, and you ask strippers, how many houses do you own? And as long as they don't own any houses or they only own one house, you're in good shape, right? But as soon as the strippers start adding 4 or 5 or 6 houses, then you know the market crash is coming. And so I keep on top of market research for you so that I can deliver this news. So no, there's no crash on the horizon. I can report that Destiny is still renting, so we're good.
When's the last time you watched Big
Your
Short?
favorite movie, Big Short?
When was the last time I watched Big Short? I don't know that I watched it. I may have watched
Gotta
it.
see it.
But you know what? I stay away from those films because the politics gets infused with them, and it's hard. It's hard.
There's no politics in that.
There isn't? Okay. I don't know.
It's a great movie.
I see politics in everything that goes on. I may have watched it, but I generally stay away from that stuff because it's just like, but yeah, good question. Next. Oh, Hang on. Okay. Fine. You know, I'm all open about everything. I'll tell you everything, but I'm not gonna tell you who the best wholesaler is with the best deals. Like, you know who the best, I'll tell you who the answer is. First off, it's nobody that you know. The best wholesaler, they only last for about a month or two. Best wholesaler is the new person that gets a deal, they call me, whatever. Or there's a lifeline. The best wholesalers last for about 3 or 4 months. And then they suck. Then they just join the rest of the wholesalers sucking on everything else. Because like the best wholesaler is the guy that gives you the best deal, right? So the guy that's gonna be the best deal is gonna be the green one for the most part, right? It's gonna be an accidental deal, or they're just gonna panic and just give you a better deal than they should, right? But as soon as the wholesaler has experience and everything else like that, they're like, okay, well, which guy from California can I rip off, right? Or, who's paying more, right? So the best wholesaler is always temporary, right? So there's no such thing as like best wholesaler. Unless you're dealing with like, if you're like an institutional buyer or something like that, like where, you might have somebody that could feed you consistent deals and they're just making margin on their deals or something like that. But if you're just like it's just a regular guy, then the best wholesaler is like a temporary phenomenon. Does that make sense? 2 more questions and we'll move on with our lives, but, oh God, Jeff, you just want a free drink. No, do you want to ask a question or you just want to drink? Okay.
I'll tell you what I've been seeing lately and
Okay. All right.
So where I live.
Where you live? Where do you live again?
In Waxhaw.
Waxhaw?
Yeah.
Waxhaw?
Yes. There are a lot of rental communities for houses popping up that are like 2,500 to 4,000.
A lot of rental communities in Waxhaw, right, 2,500
that
houses,
are
right.
popping up on land.
And so what are they? Are they like 20 houses or 30 houses
Yeah,
type
it's
thing?
like 30
Like
houses.
small little developments and then they just build them to develop. And so it's a rent.
But
Right.
nice houses,
Yeah.
they're, 400 to 800,000 around.
Okay.
So do you see this trend happening a lot?
Do I see the trend of hedge funds doing a mini little development, just renting it out and then riding the appreciation, stuff like that? I think so, probably. I think for the foreseeable future. If you had asked me 5 or 10 years ago, I would have thought that the hedge funds would be gone by now. But they're here to stay for the most part. And frankly, like cheap money is here, so the hedge funds have just an exorbitant amount of cheap money, and so they really don't need to make that much on their thing. So, I think the hedge funds are here till the next crash, or are here till approaching the next crash, because they've really made their appreciation and everything that they thought they would on their spreadsheets. All right, another question? Come on, let's do it. Someone put us out of our misery. I mean, I'm good with doctor science. Hey, you know what? I want to thank you guys for coming out and using your last discretionary drive. Do you guys realize how fucked we are over the next couple of weeks? Do you have any idea how fucked we are? We are going to be fucked. We're going to be out of gas. Out of gas. And this is not going to be just like, oh, it's going to be fixed in a few days. Like, this is a big deal. This is the largest attack on our infrastructure in the history of the United States. And I tell you what, somebody smart enough to take down the pipeline is smart enough to keep it down. Like, you know what I mean? They just didn't accidentally take it down and then they're like, oh, now the government can put it back up. They're saying that it'll be back up by the end of the week, right? Let me tell you something. They're full of shit, right? They ain't gonna be up by the end of the week, okay? So best case, the government's saying, oh, don't worry. Nobody panic. It's okay. We'll be up by Friday. You know what that means? Holy fuck! Best case is Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? Do you guys okay, in the chain. Because that, you know what I'm saying? 4 days of gasoline in the supply. Do you know when the pipeline went down? Friday. We're on the 4th day. There's no more gas coming to our gas stations, okay? We're done. Now, oh, but Scott, you don't understand. They're gonna, some guys on Facebook like, oh, well, there's other ways to bring gas. Yeah, like trucks, like, you know, trucks. Do you know where the trucks get their fucking gas? From the fucking pipeline. Now, think about this. Think about the pipeline, right? It's 17 states. It goes from like fucking here to fucking here, right? Okay? And you know what the pipeline. Yeah, that's not shocking.
Yeah. What happens is it starts in Louisiana and winds up in New Jersey and feeds refineries. So all the way along the way, it has feeder lines. Like that's how the airport gets their fuel.
Right.
So they will not have any fuel for planes soon.
Yeah, fuck the people flying on planes.
Huh?
Fuck those people. They're all going on vacation or something. Fuck them.
Well,
I just want to go to Walmart, get a drink, you know.
right.
I'm not trying to go to Tahiti, you know. So screw those people trying to get on planes.
But what I'm saying is they put different products in it. It's not just gasoline, it's heating oil, it's crude oil.
How do they do that? Well, whatever. I don't care. I'm just saying we're screwed.
Yes.
And yeah, I know the news and everybody else is telling you that we're screwed, but I'm telling you that I watch this stuff. This is my shit. I fucking watch current events like nobody else. It's crazy. I'm telling you, I know for a fact that we are completely fucked.
Time you get in the caravan, you get Tesla.
Yeah, there's Teslas. And no, yeah. So, it just so happens that Elon goes on fucking Saturday Night Live, you know, like he's like, I wasn't there. I had nothing to do with it. Yeah, okay. I'm looking at, he's very suspect, Elon. Saturday Night Live, first appearance Saturday Night Live, the day after the pipeline goes down. Okay, buy a Tesla. My waiting line is only 3 months now, or 6 months. My favorite part about Tesla is like the tax credits. It's like, oh, I'm saving the environment for tax credits, and blah, 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 never mind all the rare earth metals and stuff like this. And I get a tax credit of like 10 grand on my $100,000 car. Fuck you. You buy a $100,000 car, you don't get a tax credit. Like, come on, that's just bullshit. Not only that, but our electric grid is still like 70% of coal. So like, do you know that the Tesla actually doesn't get good gas mileage? Do you know what the gas mileage is on a Tesla?
There's no gas.
It's not true at all. It's not true. 70% of our electric grid is fueled by coal. No. It gets about 1.5 miles a gallon.
They can't hear you on my live feed.
They can't hear me on the live feed. They should pay extra for that. They can't hear me on the live feed. Did you hear that one?
It should just be there in a second.
It should be there in a second. See, all the people on live feed, they already know that we're fucked. That's why they stay home. I wasn't going to say anything until you guys got here. You guys got back. I'm just saying, you heard it here first. We were all fucked for at least a week. Best case scenario, we get normalized. Best case scenario, we get back online on Friday. It'll take a week for us to get back to normal supply. Okay? Yeah. We're at the 4-day mark on a 4-day supply chain issue that stopped on Friday. And you know when the government's silent on stuff, that means we're fucked, right? Just saying. All right, one more question, and then we're going to turn it over to Harry. So this is your incentive to ask a question so we can move on to something better and more brighter, where not only are we fucked on gasoline, but we're fucked on wholesale. And you know, realize I'm only going for a 2% reduction on the same phone.
So what's your strategy when you're doing a rehab budget before purchasing a house with the rising material costs?
Does anybody know the question, the answer to that question that's been here at the meeting before? What is my strategy on doing a budget for the rising material costs? What's the answer?
You don't do budgets.
Eddie buys it cheap.
Yeah, I don't do budgets. You know why I don't do budgets? Why don't I do budgets? Because it's always more and I'm always wrong. And I bought the house anyway, so what does it matter, right? Like, before I buy it, well, so here's the thing. When I started out, I had a spreadsheet, and I'd write down all the numbers on the budget, right? And all you people, I know you've done this, and you haven't done this, you're lying sack shit. You got this, you got a spreadsheet, right? And you're like, I need it to be $35,000. So you do your budget, and it comes down to $38,000. What do you do on your fucking budget? You start trimming your budget until you hit, oh look, I hit 35, right? We've all done that. You know, you keep trimming your budget until you hit the number if you want, right? So look, if I'm gonna lie to myself, I'm gonna lie to myself and be like, I'm not even gonna lie to myself. I'm like, fuck it. I don't know. It's about 40 plus or minus 20 grand. And if I minus, I mean it's never minus. I mean it's like 40. Is it gonna? If I say 40, does that mean it's gonna be 50, 60, or 70? Like I don't know. You know, but the thing is, and here's the thing too, is that, and I struggle with my partner or whatever, we're dealing with, like, so we're gonna be selling this house for like $750,000, $800,000, right? And we got these old brick steps, or whatever. And I want to do an interest, like the interest is gonna cost like $2 grand, right? To do this, you know, like, there's like, you know, like $1,500 with like 10 feet of board, right? And then like labor, you know? And he's like, oh, well, that's gonna fuck up our budget. Like, I don't want to spend extra money on this like this. But I'm like for me, like, I don't want the budget dictating what's the best for the house, right? You know what I mean? And so if I have to do what's best for the house, right? So like, if I chance on the last $2,000 on a $750 project house, right? That's gonna strike the new buyer, right? So I have to do what's best for the house to sell the house, not because I only had $500 on my steps. You know what I mean? I know that it's going to take $2,000 to do the steps, and now is somebody going to be able to put a spreadsheet to me when I sell this house for $800 or $750 or whatever it is, that, you know, that extra $2,000 actually saved, that made you another 10 or 15 or 20? I mean, there's no way to know. I just know that if you do a $750 house, you can't have fucked up brick steps, right? But if it's not in the budget, then like, you know, then you say, well, it's not in the budget. Or, well, we only budgeted $500 for the steps. It's like, no. So my thing is that you have to do right by the house, you have to get it to completion, and then it'll pay for itself. You know what I mean? And, you know, we all lie to each other, we all whatever, and like, it's gonna go over budget. It's just fucking gonna go over budget. It's just a matter of how much and how bad, you know. You know, and you know, after like 20 or 30 of like going over budget, I'm like, fuck this shit. Okay. Unless you have another question, we're gonna move on to Harry. Is this your groupies? Are these your groupies?
Not yet.
So Harry is here. I'm not going to intro him because you guys should know him. If you don't, then well, you're living under a rock. But Harry is an attorney that here, and we do not recommend attorneys. We do not. Again, I vouch for nobody, but he is available. He makes himself available, and so I said, hey, you know what? The bar made wholesaling problematic, right? And so you should come out and talk about like what we should do and stuff. And so Harry's going to talk to us about the bar guidance and stuff like that.
Alrighty, I've got nothing prepared in terms of a PowerPoint, but I did print the new bar guidance, which they were nice enough to email it to me directly and say, how is this going to affect your business? So they know what I do and what we do, and we are on their radar. So, yeah, I've got this sheet in front of you. It was passed April 16th, 2021. Let's start by turning to the very back of it to try to educate you on what's going on. And full disclosure, I think this is mostly because they don't like wholesalers. The Real Estate Association is probably one of the most popular, powerful lodging groups in North Carolina. And I think they feel like they've been under fire with Knock, with Endure, all those different groups that are kind of cutting them out, getting rid of their commission, going direct to the buyer. You know, we've got South Carolina now doing blockchain technology, completely cutting out attorneys and realtors by basically, you know, figuring out how to do everything digitally. Someday that's going to come to North Carolina, but the writing's on the wall for the Real Estate Association to put pressure on the bar to get rid of wholesalers. You people that are stealing little ladies' houses downtown Charlotte and gentrifying the areas and doing all those horrible things that you do. So this came out of nowhere, I'll be honest. I saw it about a week or two before they passed it. By the time it was put in place, it was already there. Let's look at the very back, and I'm kind of going to get to the front by going through the back door. Look at inquiry number 9, which is a little bit below the bottom of the mid-page, and it says, could lawyer represent A, B, and C in the following transactions? You'll see later in the first couple of pages are about what transactions can a lawyer do. Basically, an assignment or double close is what we're talking about. And right there, they basically say the attorney has many issues that they're going to represent A, B, and C. That's a horrible headache. A double closing alone, they're basically telling us, and I got that confirmation today from them finally, my month to respond to me. Can we do a double closing? No, we can't anymore. One attorney has to do the A to B, another attorney has to do the B to C. It does not matter if they're independently funded, it doesn't matter, you know, you can't do the C paying the A to B. I argue you haven't been able to do that for a long time, but they're telling us we can't even do it if they have separate money here. And the reason they're telling us that among various conflicts of interest, that is the current statute I put down there at the bottom there for conflict of interest, but they're basically telling us that wholesalers are shady. You're not trustworthy, and it's giving a bad name to the real estate profession. They think that we're hiding things from people. I think it's ridiculous and not true. And even if it is true, we don't represent the seller in a transaction. We represent the buyer, you know, ideally you. But if you look at this back page, it's telling us that if we do a double closing with separate attorney, or with the same attorney, we have to disclose to the A seller, like the very beginning guy, that this is a double closing. We have to give them the entire ledger of the A, B, and the B to C. So basically, they're going to see how much money you make. And the only way to legally do a double closing is to have separate attorneys where you don't have to disclose the A to B, the B to C to the A to B. Regardless of what we do, what they're telling us is that even if it is an assignment, the closing attorney has to tell the original seller how much money you're making. We have to say you're making $10,000, $12,000 for an assignment fee. So, Justin.
Do you have to do beyond just listing the assignment on the HUD, or do you have to actually like send them an email and be like, hey, by the way?
We're supposed to tell them immediately upon us knowing there's a double closing or an assignment. I mean, half the time though, you get it on the contract, you don't even have an end buyer yet. I argue we don't have to do anything until you finish maybe that second one.
What if that's on the purchase contract and this may be assigned?
Then it'll say in here that we have to immediately notify and give informed consent. What they call informed consent is that we have to write them a letter and make them sign it, stating they know that it's an assignment or double close. That's about what I said when I read this. That's going to kill every assignment where they're making good money, or even double closes. And there's plenty of legitimate, in my mind, double closes. I got hedge funds who sell like one entity to the next all the time. I'm not even supposed to do that, arguably, without informed consent.
The attorney has to provide that notice for to that be part of our transaction.
I have to give informed consent the minute I know that it's an assignment or a double close. And then I think one page before to say I have to give a ledger to the seller. So I have to give them like a detailed accounting where all the money went. Where it used to be the fact that we represent the buyer, not the seller. The buyer pays the assignment fee or anything. The seller doesn't know. As long as they get their number that's on the contract, everyone's happy. But now I have to permanently get them to sign something stating they know that it was double closing or assignment.
Is this with all contracts including realtors?
Yeah. I mean, it's geared towards wholesalers.
No, I know,
yeah.
but they can be biased against, we're only gonna do this to wholesalers and not realtors, that becomes questionable,
Yeah, correct, yeah, it is.
ethical, whatever.
Yeah, but realtors don't do those transactions that often.
Yeah.
Well, that's irrelevant if they do them or not, it's just a question of all this work that you're doing, it should be for
Yeah.
realtors and.
Yeah, no, they're not discriminating. Which, I mean, they are discriminating in my mind. If you do a residential closing with a big FHA, VA loan, you have CDs rather than a HUD. And what's funny is that when you do a CD as an attorney, we're not allowed to disclose anything. If the buyer has a CD, the seller has a CD, and we're in big trouble if they disclose either.
Yeah.
But now that there's an investor involved, we're required to do the exact opposite of that. That's the attorney. We use a HUD for basically investor deal. Whenever it's a government tax loan or something like that, then we use a CD. So whenever the government is involved or a government tax loan product, then we cannot disclose anything.
Can you just bring title and CDs?
We're actually debating that right now, and we're debating different ways, like how can we make a, let's say, ALTA statement, which is this 4-page long, really confusing document, and disclose somewhere in there, yeah, they're making this, amount of money. We haven't went that far yet. I think they're just trying to add a barrier to entry to wholesalers. There's so many new wholesalers every day. It is kind of becoming a problem with people going door to door and being aggressive, getting people down and trying to find new deals. North Carolina only, South Carolina hasn't done this yet.
People are asking me questions. I can't hear the question.
Yeah, repeat the
Okay.
questions.
I'll repeat the question. She was asking, is this North Carolina, South Carolina? Right now, this is North Carolina. So South Carolina, ironically, is more wholesaler friendly right now.
If in North Carolina buy property from somebody and I have a partner and we wholesale it to another entity that I have with another partner, can I do that?
No. I mean, you can, but you can because you'd be willing to give full disclosure to both of your partners. Yeah, that'd be no problem.
Just repeat the question.
He was asking, can he sell from one entity he owns, basically, to another entity that he owns for control or has a partner with? And in that situation, we can give full disclosure. We can give all the ledgers we can disclose to the first entity, what the second entity is doing, no problem. And that's something to talk about in here. Assignments, we can still do that. We can do an assignment closing, but we have to disclose with informed consent and have the seller sign something stating they know that their buyer is not really a buyer, he's assigning the contract to someone else who's buying it. If you've got a seller that's willing to do that, and everyone's willing to do it. If you're only making a couple grand, you're trying to sell them on your value add, I found a buyer, all that, you might be willing to do that. If you're making 40 grand though, they're probably gonna lose their mind on you and give you a huge headache.
Kind of two questions. Is there a time frame from A to B to reach C? Is it 1 day, 1 week?
I've got that email pending with Laura right now.
Repeat the question.
Okay, she was asking, is there a time frame right now? And if you look at the very first page on this, it's labeled contemporaneous residential real estate closings, which is the bar being annoying and saying double closings. But yeah, can we just wait 1 day and do second closing the second day? I kind of think we can, but the problem with that is you don't get very many lenders like Sohill. You don't want to do transactional funding that lasts more than a day, do you? Yeah, you want your money to be out there with the attorney that's already ready to close B to C and A to B at the same time. If it goes 1 day, there's no guarantee that person doesn't run off with this money or they refuse to sign the next day. Then we have to do deeds of trust, mortgages, all these different loan documents, and again, it increases your transaction costs.
What in a scenario if it's a pure assignment, right? And I assign my rights to him, and then he comes to you and he says, I'm closing this transaction, here's the contract. Now you say to me, you say to him, well, how much was the assignment fee? And we say, it's none of your business.
Do you want to pay it outside of closing? I don't
Paid
know.
outside of closing, yeah.
I don't know about it. That's, I don't want to condone that, but if it's outside of closing, I have no responsibility for it. I'm not
Yeah, I
fiduciary.
mean, so, I mean, that's what, I mean, if an assignment or an option fee for me, if it's paid outside of closing,
I think that would
it's
work.
it's a pure assignment, right? And there's none of your business what I pay to assign this, you know?
Yeah.
I gave him a donkey and a mule and, a pack of Newports or whatever, I don't know, like, that's good enough.
That's fine.
And it's
Trust
frankly
the buyer.
nobody's business.
Yeah, I think that works as well. I mean, we're gonna see a little bit more of that, I'm sure. Yeah.
Can you repeat that again? I wanna make sure, can you say that again?
If
What I-
the assignment fee is paid outside of closing, we don't know about it as an attorney, we don't have to disclose it.
You know, and a pure assignment play, right, is where somebody's assigning their rights to a contract, right? So that can happen at any time. Wholesalers generally do it precisely at the closing, right? But I can give you whatever I want to take that contract from you prior to closing, right? So I could pay for that contract, the assignment fees, you know, a week or 2 weeks or a day before we go to closing, right? And then he can say, look, I own this contract, I'm closing this, let's do it, right? And then the attorney usually will say something like, you know, back in the olden days, like last week, he would say, well, how much was the assignment fee? And he'll put on there like paid outside of closing, whatever it is. I'm saying it's none of his fucking business.
Question.
And that works.
So what if in a contract you had the seller waive their right to know what the assignment is if they don't really care
Ooh.
before
That,
they got done?
that starts with, for example, look at opinion number.
What was the question?
She's asking, can we do something creative? Can we have like a waiver of their rights?
Somebody waving, right? Yeah.
Or can we create some kind of, maybe a creative agreement to try to figure out things? I think it's number 5. Inquiry number 5, can a lawyer represent some kind of creative agreement? And they say no. It used to be last week that an attorney would do like a deed of trust, a mortgage, where the end buyer repaid this mortgage in the span of 5 minutes, which is their way of using the seed money to fund your A to B. Or they do an option or a beneficial interest in the property, or all these different kinds of creative agreements to get around all these rules. And now they're specifically saying we can't do anything creative, we can't draft any of those documents, we can't do anything like that.
That's you.
Yes, we can't do that, but like to his point, like you guys do that, and I don't know about it, it's paid outside of closing.
So what you're saying is, don't tell me.
You cannot tell us, and we're not allowed to help you. And to answer your question a little bit better, she's asking, can we make that agreement? If you read in here, there's 4 or 5 times they call it a non-consentable waiver or conflict. Meaning, no matter what they agree to, we're not allowed to ask them to consent to this kind of waiver. So it's like a heightened level where it's not so bad that they can just waive it, it's so bad that we're not even allowed to even try to waive it. So they talk about 2.
You said so, one transaction, A to B is represented by one attorney, and B to C is another attorney. Can both those attorneys be represented by the same firm?
No. I'm not certain about that. That's one of the questions I've asked them. I don't think so. I think you have to have a separate firm, from what I can tell.
So are we gonna see two different firms represented by the same attorney, potentially?
Kind of. The way we're doing it right now, for example, just to kind of get to the chase, is we're still doing A to B, B to C closing. Our firm is doing it. But we have to call in a second attorney to say they're the attorney for the B to C. We represent C, or we represent...
They are the attorney.
We are A to B, we're the attorney for. Some other attorney is the attorney for the B to C, but we're still doing the closing. We're preparing all the documents, sending it to that attorney, and they sign off on it, basically. But it's, you know, kind of keeping things confidential, and we represent that person. If the other C person has questions, they can talk to that attorney. That's the only way we've been able to figure out moving forward in a legal manner, which basically turns your assignment that you used to be able to do in one closing by paying an assignment fee into a double closing. Now you're paying double closing costs. I think it's all about trying to make your life more difficult.
So this has already gone into effect?
Yeah, April 16th it passed it. So this week alone, we've had like 3 other law firms reach out to us. Hey, can you do the B to C? We're doing the A to B. Yeah, everyone's trying to cooperate and still do double closings, but having to bring in other law firms and everything.
So you guys can horse trade that stuff.
kind of, and we're already talking to a couple of attorneys, like, look, we're gonna do the ABCD, all the paperwork, deeds, everything, title purchase. All you have to do is sign here stating you're the attorney and you're willing to talk to them and you're having a liability for that B2C transaction. Which is just basically asinine and stupid as far as making us do it that way. But if increasing your cost is also making your life more difficult.
So are you gonna have to increase fees because of this, or are you gonna figure out a way to maybe?
More money, more money, more money.
We're keeping it the same basically, except that you have to do a double closing now instead of an assignment.
So you know, maybe like discount the.
We actually reduce our fees to pay for the second attorney and the second closing, to keep it the same. But what you had is like a $1,200 A2B closing, now you have $2,400 for AP and then D2C. But it probably is a little more ethical, a little better.
Technically, we can close we can close A to B with attorney 1, walk down the block, close B to C with attorney 2 the same day.
You can,
30 seconds later.
but in practice, doing that is really difficult. Because, I mean, even if you close at 9 o'clock with A to B, by the time they get around to doing stuff, it's 2 o'clock, and then you're trying to scramble with the second attorney to do, it's almost impossible to do it.
You gotta update the time.
Yeah, and then the attorneys don't cooperate, you know, they want to send documents back and forth. That's why we're trying to keep it in-house to do A, B, B, C, so we can do it all streamlined. But that's the practicality. And I think the bar is kind of hoping that, you know, you'll see you can't really do double closing anymore because separate attorneys won't cooperate. So we've had a couple attorneys reach out to us today and say, please help us do one. And we've had a couple attorneys say, we're not doing double closings anymore. We're just completely banning them, which I think is what the bar is really wanting, is to say that they can't do this.
Going back to Sohail's question though, so if I was to go get my license tomorrow, would that be a different story for us doing the same, operating the same business?
He's asking, are realtors any different than wholesalers? And no, I think realtors are still subject to double closings. Because it's the attorney, it's their ethics opinion here that says we can't do a double closing. And since attorneys are the only people in North Carolina that can do closings, basically it's like a wall that the North Carolina bar is able to pass without passing a law. Very underhanded way of getting things done. So you can look at the very first page, but basically it prefaces this as contemporaneous residential closings, and it talks about exactly the situation you guys are usually in. You're buying it ready grand, you're trying to resell it for $100 grand. And they talk about using thief money for A to B. So I already emailed the bar, and my first question to them, the only one that they've answered is that it doesn't matter if we're completely separate. You're funding A to B separately than B to C. And they say it does not matter, still cannot do a double closing with the same attorney. So that's the only email the bar has answered from me so far. Got a couple other questions pending. But the moral of the story is you can still do assignments, you just have to disclose it to your seller. We have to tell them, hey, you're making the X amount of dollars. Otherwise, you need to do a double closing and have separate attorneys, or a firm like ours is to have a separate attorney sign on to be that representative of the last person. In practice, your fee buyer doesn't care. You know, as long as they get it for the price that they are getting it for, they're usually more than happy. I was telling Scott, we've done thousands of wholesale closings. We've never had a seller ever come back and say, hey, I found out they resold this for 30 grand more than what I, sold it to them for last week. No one cares. They got their number, everyone was happy. This is entirely, I think, just to try to calm down wholesaling in the state. And other states are doing the same thing. We've got some states that are actually making wholesalers have a wholesaling license. It's probably going to be the next thing. And if you read in here, a lot of the justification in here is for them saying that attorneys are helping wholesalers become realtors without a license. We are committing a misdemeanor in North Carolina by helping a wholesale, realtor, broker, a house without a license. And that's what they're really trying to shut down. You have to have a license. The realtor trying to, show their value in North Carolina. But there's a lot of references in here to, these little bar laws or statutes, and that's what they were referencing if you look those up. It's a misdemeanor for helping someone, wholesale a house. Let's see, if there are any other highlights, but feel free to keep asking questions.
Scott,
Well, I mean, you're just assigning the contract, and so therefore you're just buying the rights. I mean, so the names will change. You know what I mean?
If you do it his way, I think you gotta trust him. You know, maybe you have a document that a lawyer doesn't have between you and them. It's gonna be
You would have who would have to trust who?
the wholesaler's gotta trust you to pay them the assignment fee. If you're
Oh
paying
no,
us
I would. Well, I would say that it would be paid before closing, right? You know, it'd have to be a real cash buyer, right? And you know, so if I was a guy buying the assignment, I'd pay him an hour before the closing or whatever, you know, when all the documents and everybody signed and stuff like that. I mean, what the timing is and everything else is, you know, the fact of the matter is it happens before the closing, right? You know, and I think it's nobody's business what happened prior to the transaction. You know, there's, go fuck yourself. You know, I bought this contract. I'm allowed to buy this contract. I don't have to tell anybody how much I bought this contract, when I did it, and how I did it. Not even my damn attorney. And so fuck the bar. Right? The difference is that it can't get paid through him, right? But if somebody wrote the check 2 minutes before, or 10 minutes, or whatever the case is, however you want to work that. And yeah, there is some trust issues because, like stop payments on checks, or there are logistics. You have to think through that and your relationship with that person, right? But anything happens before it gets to him is none of his business, right? And it's none of the bar's business. You know, so if it's a pure, real assignment where I'm paying you to assign it, I'm taking this piece of paper, and now I take it to an attorney, you know, fuck them
in
all.
practice, there's not a lot of those because people don't trust each other. Pay
Yeah,
upfront.
yeah.
And then you worry, are they going to come to closing? Every week we have 3 or 4 closings, sellers don't show up, or they already had someone offering more money and they go somewhere else. So then he's got your money and you're having to unwind it all and you're having to trust him to give you back your money. But it's pretty rare for those to have happened in the past.
So I've got one sitting with you right now that's supposed to close this week that was an assignment. What am I just gonna have to turn around and redo that as like a double close?
Yeah, we're turning around and making them double closes unless you tell us that we can put the assignment fee on there and tell them you're making some money.
Right, okay. So to simplify it, the only way for me to do a quote unquote wholesale deal and hide what I'm gonna make in the deal from the seller is to do AB with you, BC with another guy, transactionally funded.
Exactly.
All in one go. Now is all the money going to you, or do I have to like disclose on my?
It all goes to us. We're handling all the disbursement and all that.
Okay.
There's just gonna be $100 or whatever we pay to that end attorney, the fee guy, for him to say he's representing the fee party.
So basically aside, paperwork aside, speaking numbers, every transaction is now gonna cost the wholesaler $3,000 or more.
Yeah, I'd say $2,400, whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead of $1,200 for one A to B closing, now it's $1,200 times 2. Double. Yeah, as long as you're making good money, it's not that big of a headache. But, and I'm open to ideas. If you have other attorneys that are doing other things, right now, I think most of the attorneys are just saying we're not doing any of this. We're not getting involved until we hear more. The bar hasn't given any other letter of directions or any information yet, other than one email I got saying don't do double closings. Yeah, with the same attorney.
One more question, and then Harry will go to the back and answer more questions if you have them, and then he's got to leave because he cannot solicit business, and we would not want him to do that. It's not appropriate. He's only here for information at all. That's all he's here for.
The last time I was here, I got a good old
And he's not a fucking gargoyle, just so everybody knows. He's not a gargoyle. Even if he looks like one, he might be representative of one, but he's not an actual gargoyle. I just want to make sure this is clear for the bar and everybody paying attention that he's not a gargoyle, and he's here for informational purposes only. And frankly, they're better looking than attorneys anyways. We all know this.
Last time I was here, I got a good old bar complaint from another lawyer. Saw me here talking to people. You as an attorney are not supposed to talk to people if you go to an event because it's like infringing on being an ambulance chaser. You don't want attorneys at emergency rooms chasing down potential clients. I got reporters back, good fun, and for buying someone a beer, evidently. I haven't heard from that bar complaint recently, but that was fun. So that's what he's talking about there.
I just want to go on record, I'm okay if you buy me.
All right, one more question, and then he'll be in the back of the room for informational purposes only.
I may have missed it. You go over memorandums? You go over that already?
That's something else that happened a couple weeks ago. They are stopping memorandums in North Carolina. I've got one bar official telling me no more memorandums. Valor Bar complaint against me. I get one every week over something. Saying no more. But then I emailed her counterpart and she said, I am allowed to file memorandums as long as I protest it on behalf of my client. Say, I'm not supposed to do it, but if you make me do it, I will do it. So I have to tell you, I'm not allowed to file memorandums, but I can do it if you make me do it over my objection.
Are they enforceable?
No, they've never been enforceable. I don't think they're enforceable. The statute states that both.
But you're talking about a one-party
Yeah.
memorandum.
The statute is only when both people sign, buyer and seller.
Who the hell let you in?
And what Dave's talking about is when the buyer signs a memorandum, if you're way of clouding title, effectively attorneys don't close over those. Usually, they'll say, I don't want involved in this. I'm going to call that other person that has a contract and negotiate with them. It's not really an enforceable memorandum, and that's what the bar is complaining about. Union County, I will tell you, quit even filing them. They will not file them if I submit them. So it's basically dead in Union County. Mecklenburg, they're still filing them for now. But all this, you're on all their radars. They're paying attention. There's more of it's going to come.
He'll be in the back of the room.
Yeah, I need to leave before Carl talks about closings that I've lived through and don't want to hear about.
Yeah, flashbacks.
Yeah, I'll throw up.
We're going to keep rolling. You guys go to the bathroom if you want to, but we're going to keep this moving because Carl's got a lot of presentation and all, whatever. We're going to keep it rolling. Thank you, Harry. He's in the back for information. I did ask 5 other attorneys and they declined because they're attorneys and, they think they're better than us. But Harry is always around and available, and it's just like shocking. Like he's got like such a crazy good business. It's because he's accessible. More than 3 syllables after 8 o'clock. Right? Okay, deep thoughts. And I want to apologize that I think I did this presentation relatively not too long ago. I always record my thing. I always like to go at least a year for these presentations, but I think I gave this as a bonus presentation. But whatever. It's fucking hilarious anyways, so I'm gonna give it again. And for those new people, you need this anyway. All right, deep thoughts on real estate investing. Don't call yourself a real estate investor. Okay? Nobody's impressed with that. Nobody gives a damn. Everybody's a real estate investor, right? Everybody's got the Carlton sheets, blah, blah, blah. We've been through there. So, we're like, whoa, what do you do? I'm a real estate investor. It's terrible. So just tell them what you actually do. Right? I buy, fix, sell, or I buy great deals with private money, whatever it is. And maybe the idea of sending Harry to the back to answer questions was a bad idea. Hey, is there any way we can open up those doors to the back way, barway, so they're not distracting and loud and annoying?
Fire alarm?
Is that a real fire alarm?
You tell me.
I don't know. I was scared. It never is, but it is this time, I'm sure. Where's her list of yeah, front end.
Pretty sure it's.
Hey, can we go? Do these people need to talk? Yeah. Can we open those doors so they don't annoy the fuck out of me? I said that. They just want to talk. Did they go to that room about go to fire thing? That one? That's not gonna take them outside, is it? Okay, which one's the door that takes them outside? Go. There you go. So Harry will lead through that magic door. They're to talk with questions. Don't call yourself a real estate investor. It's just don't. Okay. Don't call yourself a wholesaler, right? Like we all know now, you should be a wholesaler because nobody likes wholesalers, anyways. And wholesalers are dime a dozen, and everybody's done that course. It's just not a good idea to call yourself a wholesaler, right? I buy good deals and I sell them to people that like good deals, better deals, right? And that's the other thing too, is that sometimes we want to label ourselves what our name is, I'm a vice president of something, I'm this and that, right? But that doesn't it just washes over people. Does that make sense? Right? So you should actually tell somebody what your actual message is. Almost like your elevator speech, right? But it's not your elevator speech, it's your elevator whatever, right? So when somebody asks me, what do I do? I say, I primarily buy, fix, and sell to the retail customer, right? Does that make sense? And that'll spur a conversation and everything else like that. They're like, oh, what do you mean by primarily? Well, I also, waste time doing other shit, right? But anyways, the point is that you want to tell them what you actually do. That'll spur interest because like labels and names can just go over. And I'm gonna try and get this out of Good. Moving right along. One does not simply fix in house and get multiple offers. However, you can tell that this presentation is old because actually you just have to put the fucking house on the market, whether it's fixed or not, and then you get multiple offers. Okay. So this is like a year old. Ignore this. This is fucking stupid. This is dumb. You actually do just simply just put it. You don't even have to fix it. Like they just put it on the market, just get multiple offers, and like make $1 million. Doesn't even matter anymore. Who cares, right? Of course a crash is coming, but when, right? I love these geniuses. Like always predicting the next crash. Like the crash is coming, the crash is coming, the crash is coming. It's like, okay, but when, right? You've been saying that for like 2 years, 3 years, whatever. I say, look, I have made the prediction for a long time, for the last 5 years. This is actually a year-old prediction or whatever. The crash is coming in 23, 24. I have revised my, because a lot of reasons, pandemic, a lot of reasons. But we have at least another 3-year run, okay? So we're at least 3 to 4 years out before the next crash, okay? Just because the supply issues are real. It's been built up for a long time. The cheap money's not going anywhere, so we've got at least a solid 3 years, okay? And yeah, we all know the crash is coming, but like, what the fuck is the point unless you tell me like within like 6 months, okay? Goddamn genius. Hey, we opened the door, Richmond, Harry, all those for you guys, so you go back there, I know it's good and stuff, but it is, it does annoy, it annoys the shit out of me, and I'm not shy about admitting it, but I'm sure it annoys other people that are shy. Okay, fucking Bernie. Register your vacant houses to protect against squatters. And I've been talking about this. It's a pain in the ass. I actually researched this. Okay, so I thought you could just go onto the website and like, City of Charlotte would just fill in the address saying this is vacant. But you actually got to get a note. It's the police that you have to register with. All right, it's the POPO. And you got to take a notarized statement down to the POPO station and fucking give it to them to register it as a vacant thing. Now, so it becomes an issue. It becomes like a pain pleasure thing, whether it's worth it or not, whether it's a high degree or whatever like this. So it's not just routine.
Can you mail it to them?
I don't think you can mail it. I think you gotta hand deliver that shit. It's gotta be notarized, everything. It's like
Put up post signs.
you gotta put up no trespassing. It's the whole thing. Woo. Now, I think a workaround, but I'm not smart enough. I really didn't get shit. But you can register your house as a boarded up vacant house, okay? And so if you register your house as a boarded up vacant house, that put no trespassing signs, I think that qualifies as a registered vacant house. Does that make sense? The only problem is that it puts you in the city system, But so that might be an easier workaround because you can register a boarded up house on the city website relatively easy. So, but then you have to board up the house. But so that might work in certain circumstances. Install fake cameras on your rehabs. You can buy them for like $20 or something like that. You get a pack of 2 or 4, and it's got the little red light and things like this, and you just screw them in. And that will help a lot of like stealing and stuff like this. Not only that, but what do you think, you rehabbers out there, what do you think the biggest cost is for a vacant house rehab that people fuck you over on? Well, okay, let's say stealing lumber. HVAC? Oh, well, stealing units, yeah, okay, but
Plumbing,
I don't even know the answer. I'm going with my answer. I think my answer is the best. People putting shit in your dumpster.
Yes.
Right? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude, those fucking dumpsters are $500 to $600 a piece. You put it out there today, it's fucking half filled tomorrow. Like that's $250. You know what I mean? If I got 4 dumpsters, I'm filling up 2 dumpsters. It's costing me $1,000 every fucking job. in Charlotte. The Charlotte's like the best city in the country for shit, just they pick it up. You know what I mean? Like you call up Charlotte 311, you're like, I got a fucking sofa, I got 100 sofas, I'm gonna put them out on the curb. You're gonna come pick them up. And you're like, okay. You know what I mean? We got like I don't know if you guys live in other cities. I mean, I haven't that much, but I know that other cities just don't pick up your shit. They're like, oh, we get a dumpster. You call up, yeah, they charge you. You call up Charlotte, you're like, I got 3 couches, 4 love seats, 10 desks, a mattress, you know, this, this and that, da 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 da. Man, we filled up a whole house full on this thing, right? I mean, we filled it up like a whole street, like at least 3 dumpsters worth of trash and stuff, right? And the trash trucks come by, and they didn't pick up anything. You know what? And then we called up the city. We're like, what the fuck, man? We called in. And you know what? 3 hours later, they picked up the whole shit. But meanwhile, they're gonna fill up your dumpsters. So you put up little signs on your dumpster that says cameras in use, the little fake dummy signs like this. And did you know that it's a felony if somebody puts that in there? Because did you know what it is? If somebody steals the tools off your job site, it's actually stealing from somebody's, it's a higher threshold. It only has to be like $300. After $300, it's a felony because you're stealing from somebody's livelihood. Does that make sense? Right? So like when somebody puts stuff in your dumpster, that's not just like, you know, like whatever. You're stealing from somebody's livelihood, and so it's a higher threshold, it's a felony. Good luck getting it prosecuted though by the lives. You know, that's what? Alright, so this is no longer true, but you know, it's kind of fun. What if I told you get 1 hour transactional funding, or 1 hour owner financing from your seller in order to transactional funding? Although I guess now that's submarined. And I thought I was a genius because I was getting ready for this and I knew that Harry was going to talk about this. So then I said, well, wait, what if I told you you could get an option to buy the house and then you sell the option instead of assigning? But apparently that's a problem too. So, what if I told you that those last 2 slides mean jack shit? But if you do know, if you are doing business with people and you do know how to do it, I just do it beforehand. And if it's, you know, like, whatever happens outside of closing, prior to closing, is none of anybody's business. Now Offer Power and now Open Door, they're legitimizing our business, right? Does that make sense? You know, so back in the day, we were just like the little bastards with the We Buy Houses signs on all the corners, you know what I mean? Now the corporations are doing it, so they're making us like a legitimate business. Does that make sense? Right? So then when you approach the seller and you're like, look, I'm just a small business owner, kind of like OfferPad, but you know, they're a big national company, they can't pay as much as I can, and I'm just a little guy. You'd rather work with a little guy than a big company, wouldn't you? Not only that, the big company, they have their formulas, and you know what they're gonna do, they're gonna renegotiate 100% of the time. So the price that I give you is the price that you're gonna get. The price that OfferPad gives you is the price they're not ever gonna give you. They're gonna come in with the inspection, and they're gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna come through, I'm gonna be like, hey, you know what, this is a piece of shit house, I'm gonna give it a piece of shit price, right? OfferPad's gonna come through here and say, hey, you know what, this is a piece of shit house, I'm gonna give you a piece of shit price, and then I'm gonna have it inspected, and then I'm gonna say, hey, you know what, this is a piece of shit house, and I need to mark off all this money. It's like, what? Like, how did you not know that all this shit needed to be done? You know what I mean? I hate renegotiating. If you investors use that as your business model, I think you're scum to the earth and you should die.
Just say how you feel, don't shoot.
I mean, like, you know what? If you come across a legitimate problem with the house or whatever and you need to renegotiate, then that's one thing, right? But if you use that as your business model, then you need to rethink your life and your ethics in business, okay? Because you have people that have their backs up against the wall, that are in financial distress, and you're giving them one number. But when you give them that one number, you already know that you're going to fuck them in the last week. And so if that's your business strategy, go fuck yourself. You're an asshole. No, I mean that. You know what? But people teach that shit. People teach that shit as a legitimate business strategy and how to get a better deal for you to make thousands more when you've got people with their financial backs up against the wall. It's one thing if you do that legitimately if you find out something new. But if you go into the transaction knowing that you're going to renegotiate that last minute against some unsophisticated person that has their financial back against the wall and have no other choice and you're going to take advantage of them that way, you need to rethink how you do business and how you sleep at night. And I know there's people in here to do that, but you know what? Frankly, Don't take this as an attack. Take this as a wake-up call on how you approach business. Does that make sense? I'm not going to shit on you because you used to do that, because some fucking guru told you to do that. Does that make sense? Like, you did that, that's fine, and this is business, and this is how it works, and this is how you get a better deal, that's fine. I get it, I understand the rationale, right? But do you understand my rationale now? Don't enter into a contract knowing that you're going to fuck them at the end. You're going to buy a piece of shit house, and then you're going to get an inspection, and you're going to say, oh, this is a piece of shit house? It's like, what changed? Nothing changed. You're the pro. Does that make sense? Anybody got a problem with that? So I do. I think you guys are low life sucking some of the bitches that do that to fuck people that are in bad position. You're already good at a good deal. And then you're going to suck the last few thousand out of them?
Can you do it with wealthy people?
Huh?
Can you do it with wealthy people?
With wealthy people, they can go fuck themselves. Because you know what though? Well, it depends. Look, these things are all situational. Like I said, like if you learn legitimate new information that you never calculated into it, that's one thing.
It was for comedy.
It's comedy.
It was comedy. Comedic relief. You're getting real serious there.
I know. Yeah, this is true. You have to watch out for wealthy people because they've already worked the angles for you as well. So you have to watch out for them because they might press you, they might squeeze you last minute too.
What if you ask the seller, is there anything I should know about this house in great condition? They say yes, it's in great condition. And then you do an inspection the day before closing and you change the terms at that point because you found something.
No.
Because they kind of lie.
If it's a legitimate issue that you're unaware of, and there's a structural issue, or there's something that was misrepresented, if there's some sort of legitimate issue going on, or whatever, that you were unaware of, innocently, or that the seller misrepresented, or whatever, that's fine. But there are business models, and OfferPad, all these fuckers are one of them. Every single one of them do this, okay? Because all the hedge fund fucking geeks that graduated from all the high schools, they fucking figured out that, hey, this is our business model. Their business model is I get it under contract, I get it inspected, and then I reduce that contract, right? And all of those, and most of the time, those issues are known, right? They know they have to be painted. They know they need a new bathroom, right? And I know, and I talk to other investors, and I tell them to their face, fuck you. But if you get something under contract with the intention of renegotiating later, you're an asshole. If it's something that you're not aware of, if it's something that you're unplanned for, if it's something that the seller misrepresented, then yes, that's good, right? But if I negotiate to buy a piece of shit house, and then I get an inspection that says it's a piece of shit house, and then I use that to renegotiate the guy last week, and they had no other options, right? And they're not sophisticated, It's scummy. And that's what I'm saying. Like, again, it's the intention. Like, if that's your business model of get it under price for X, with the intention and understanding that 100% of the time you renegotiate, karma's coming. And sometimes I'm fucking karma. There's a story behind that. I love this shit. I don't care what a wholesaler makes. Yeah. Everybody says this, right? Unless it's too much, then you're gonna stab them in the eye, right? Oh, I love people that bitch about wholesalers making all this money. Oh, you shouldn't have made 25 grand or 50 grand. You should have given me a better deal. Blah 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 blah. Whatever, whatever it is. And I'm always thinking to myself, you know what? If they're making so much money, and it's unreasonable, then why don't you go into business and be a wholesaler? It's so easy, right? That's the economic cycle, right? There's I don't know what they call it spoiled profits. If there's a business which has an extraordinary amount of profits, then everybody enters, right? And then that decreases the profits down to an equilibrium, right? Wholesaling's been around for a while. There's a reason why they're making so much money on the house. It's because, frankly, the people bitching, and 100% of the time, the people bitching can never get that deal, right? They don't have the personality, they don't have the ability, they don't have the tenacity, they don't have all the shit the wholesalers have. They could never even do the wholesaling. So So I'm saying, you want to bitch about people making the money, why beat them? Join them.
When can we?
Huh?
Tonight.
Supreme Court's ruled on that, so we're good. Don't worry about that.
You're back.
Here. There's always room for one more real estate investor. As a new person getting into the business, you know, we're always scared of the intimidated by the big people and like whatever, and like just, you know, whatever the case may be, right? But there's so much business, an unbelievable amount of business. There's always room for one more person. And I was telling Juan, like Juan's starting to pick it over there. You know, like I see people grow up in this business and they're just like kick ass, like it's just amazing, right? And they're getting deals, you know, they're getting deals, they're making, you know, a crap load of money, and it's just amazing. And there's just always room for one more, so don't ever doubt that there's not room. Real estate's a real business, I mean, you know. I saw a meme once, and it's so true, is that like, wholesalers and ex-drug dealers gone straight. You know what I mean? I mean, basically wholesalers, and real estate in general, is all the people that couldn't like graduate college and get a real job, but they're still hustling and they're still like breaking kneecaps, you know what I mean? You know, so basically everybody in real estate, like so real estate is the industry that you can make the most money in, right? There's no other really industry except for maybe informational technology or like internet type stuff or whatever like that. You know, but real estate is where you can make the most money, okay, in any industry. And it requires no education, background, money, or anything that prevents you from doing it, right? And so that's what it is. And so it's, and knowing that, so you got a lot of like suspect people, and you know, frankly me, you know, but you have a lot of suspect people in it. But then also you've got a lot of money on the table, you know what I mean? And you know, and you get to find out like what somebody will do for 30 grand or 20 grand or 50 grand or 100 grand, right? Like you get to trust your, you know, you get to like find out what your real morals are when you got 50 grand on the table. Does that make sense? And that's where you get to find out like how much your friendships are worth to people. Does that make sense? That's a lot of money, you know? Don't, and then speaking of which, don't loan the money to friends that you can afford to lose, friend or money, right? You give money to a friend, you know, you're getting ready to find out how much that friendship's worth. Now, the thing is, you know what? You give your friend 20 grand, he loses it, you know, and you guys are good, you're good, right? But that's on both of you, right? Because it's a two-way street. Because first off, the guy that gives the 20 grand has to understand that when he gives it to a friend, it's lost, it's gone, okay? Guarantee you, almost all the time. Because when you give a friend money, 20 grand, they had no other options, right? They were a bad prospect as it was, right? So that 20 grand, the odds of it going south are like 95%, okay? The problem is too, is that now the guy that lost the 20 grand that borrowed it from a friend now feels guilty, so he doesn't want to contact the friend. See how that works? Right? So it's a two-way street. Both of you guys are gonna fuck up that friendship. So just know when you start getting in the big numbers and giving money to your friends, that's what's going on. And so you have to decide for yourself, does this 20 grand loan, is it gonna affect our friendship or not? Is it worth it or not? Am I the only one that's experienced this?
We'll need 20 grand, I'll let you know.
Yeah, fuck you, you're not getting it. See, I'm good. I'm like, fuck you, you're not getting it. I don't care. You know, I think that. I told you weren't gonna get it from the first time. And then this is the, you know, this is earlier. You can't go over budget if you never had one.
That's right.
You can't go over budget if you never had one. Every problem has a solution. I always like this one. You know, like when a real estate attorney says that they can't close a transaction, or when somebody says this is impossible, and then Carlos is where he makes all his money. You know, when everybody says that something can't be done, you can't get leads this way, you can't close this transaction, you can't do this, you can't do whatever. Whatever the problem is, it's impossible, or whatever it is. There's always a solution, right? You're just dealing with a moron that's telling you they don't know what the answer is, right? And so when somebody tells you that that there's no solution to the problem, that's somebody with like limited, I don't know what it is, like, you know, so like if somebody asks me a question and I don't know the answer, or I say, I don't know the answer, you gotta ask somebody else. I'm sure there's a solution. There's always a damn solution. Always, right, Carl?
Yes.
and you make a shit ton of money finding those solutions. And they're annoying. And even though you're an expert and have closed transactions that nobody else has ever closed, you still learn a new way to close something, a new way to solve that problem every damn week.
We're always learning.
Yeah, it's always amazing. And then, you know, wholesale deals on Facebook. Anyone, go there. For pre-millennials, this is a good movie. This was a classic. This is right after we had color TV. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. It was a really good movie back in the day, you know. Yeah, you should like smoke. You should like take some edibles and watch it someday. You might enjoy it. I don't know. Okay, we'll take some questions, and then Carl, you're warming up in the bullpen. William, let's go ahead and get his thing up, and you guys can go ahead and go to the bathroom now if you want. We're gonna keep rolling. We're trying to. This Carl's got a massive presentation we'll never get through. But it's
only 75
exactly. It's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible. And fucking David is here, and David is wondering when am I speaking next? And you're warming up in the bullpen. You're warming up in the bullpen. You're on the radar.
I got some good stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's gotta be the best. It's gotta be the best. Carl's here to show you the best. Carl's here to show you how it's done. You take notes so you can improve your presentation. And give us better information than this guy. Intro you with Mike, I guess.
Asking motherfucker. And then there's a closer.
Can we figure out the clicker thing? The clicker's not working.
Affiliate now. I should.
What happens? It just goes to sleep or something?
Or people. How cheap as it is. Yeah, at least that. Yeah. I get you. Yeah. Yeah, we were trying to sell. Yeah.
Can you raise the volume of the mic?
We end up listening. But,
do you need this sauce?
Oh, try it? Okay. Then I got more paper there. I got some other line. Call me tomorrow. My wildest dreams.
I'll deal with it. Okay. I just go 5 minutes. The one with the arrows going forward.
Okay.
All right.
How much?
All right. I want to point out, Carl, that shit ton is one word. Right? Everybody? Right? Okay. Shit ton is one word. Andrea, shit ton is one word. Shit ton. Okay?
Everybody knows I can't spell.
Yeah. Now you can't do a lot of things. Anyway, so this is Carl Spielvogel. I mean, does anybody not know Carl Spielvogel? Does anybody who's living under the rock? It's okay. Whatever. So Carl does all sorts of crazy deals, and he makes his money in the niches, right? So he finds deals that are impossible. Yeah. ready for your third dose? I got your third dose later on tonight. These guys know what I'm talking about. But anyways, he does the impossible deals. He does the deals that nobody wants to do, or that everybody has told him that it can't be done, and he figures out a way to do them, right? And that's what I mean. Every problem has a solution. So anybody that tells you otherwise is fucking wrong. And that's where the real money is. And that's why he makes the big bucks. And that's why he's able to dress the way that he does, because he's fucking loaded. And that's how you get your facial, like, what the hell's going on with you, dude? What is that? Did you run out of razor money? Is the gas lines affecting like razors and are those reading glasses? What like $8.99? What'd you get those? Did you get like 2 for $5? What?
Dollar Tree.
Dollar Tree?
Check them out. They're pretty badass.
Are you still renting a house for $500 a month?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
It has no central air, and
You don't even live in a real house yet?
no, not yet. I'm someday.
Hey David, are you busy tonight? You want to come speak? Tell us how you make all this
Just because.
Anyways, here we go. We got this guy with $18.95 sneakers for Family Dollars. Those actually look like nice jeans, though. Somebody else bought those for you for $34.98.
Yeah.
He's got the 1873 polo shirt that he's got branded, with a very valuable phone number. Hasn't shaved in a week or two. He's got the 2 for $9 reading glasses.
They're dollars.
But this guy is impressive. Let me tell you, he's going to make you a lot of money. He makes a lot of money, and he's going to make you a shit ton. One word. With Uncle Carl. The end. Done.
All right.
I don't know.
Actually, I had
Look
Andrea
up
put a
look at
presentation
Webster's.
together, and so Paul. So, yeah, I can't spell worth a damn. I live in a $500 a month house I rent, no central air. So listen to me, okay? That's why you should listen to me. But this is the stuff we specialize in. Multiple missing errors. We have a thing, the deader the better. We love dead people. Judgments and liens, there's so much cool shit. You can write them off, you can buy them. There's 11 ways to work with judgments and liens on property. We do excess proceeds deals. We do partition sales. We love the vacant houses, tracking down the people, putting them together. We moved recently, last year and a half, got into land. We probably do about 80% of our deals are all land deals now. We fix fucking houses. And we're doing a lot of subdividing, variances, assemblage, then other stuff. Anything that's like niche. So I'm not competing with Open Door, things like that. Only person I have to watch out for is David Roberts lurking in the bushes. But besides that, there's very few people that can do these kind of deals. And David can't even do them as good as we do. That's just fact. Right, David?
That's right, man.
Okay, see. You're supposed to argue with me here.
Ask about your clients on your podcast.
Oh, that's yeah, it was funny. I brought David on to my mastermind in the podcast, and now people are like, hey, you like this David Roberts guy? He's better than you. So anyways, it is what it is. Dave and I go up against each other. We probably cost each other at least $500,000. At one point, I wanted to have him killed, literally, but decided not to. He was bigger than me, so we've gone around and around. It got pretty nasty at times. So. But we also do a lot of cool creative financing where we get people to take part of their equity in personal notes. We do 0% financing, subordination. We've had people take payments with balloon with no interest. So there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do. And I'll show you some of these deals getting creative. Probably 10 to 20% of our deals, we incorporate this in. A little bit like you guys are too young, but Ron LeGrand multiple offer strategy, and can come up with a lot of creative solutions. One of the things I think that makes us even better than David Roberts is when we ask open-ended questions and we really listen. A lot of times we're going to tax delinquents, foreclosures. We're there to help, where David Roberts is there to steal the house. And they pick up on that, and they trust us, and they do business with us versus David Roberts. So the key really is listening. And then whenever I go to foreclosure, like, hey, I'm crossing over with a lot Alliance Finance. Is anyone here to talk to you about your options? A lot of times we do help people stay in their houses. This is the deal we just recently did. We closed with Sherry Marsh. Now what it was is a tax delinquent, defunct corporation, and had several problems. $25,000 behind on taxes, $73,000 lien HC supply. Okay, let me go to the next one to show you. Okay, here's the problems. So it had a $25,000 taxes, $73,000 HC supply lien, $66,000 for motor credit judgments. So you can't buy it, right? You can't do it. It's got these judgments. So we closed with Attorney Harry Marsh. Title insurance subject to these three things: the taxes, the HC supply lien, and the Ford motor credit lien. And the reason we did this is, with judgments, they're good for 10 years, and if they renew them, they only renew against the person, they don't renew against the property. Typically, HC Supply and Ford Motor Credit don't even know they have judgments against the property. They're dumbasses. And so you can wait them out. So that's one possibility. And so what we basically knew is we could make something out of this mess. So this is the judgment for Ford Motor Credit. And it says 50 goes up to 60,000. They all accrue interest at 8%. So they're going up. And then there is the HC Supply lien. And then this is where we bought it. We closed with Harry Marsh, who doesn't like to do business with me because our deal is so messy. He says I am his worst client. And he bans me. Every now and then I sneak back into another deal, but he actually doesn't like it on business thing. So here's we go back to it. So what we end up doing in this one is the first call is HC, because now it's important on where these judgments come into play, what level. Taxes are always first position, okay? So taxes first position, HC Supply, they clock their lien next, and then Ford Motor Credit came after them. So we approached HC Supply lien, we called them up and said, yo, motherfuckers, will you sell us your lien? And we convinced them to sell us the lien for for $16,000. The reason we wanted to buy the lien, and this is important, because we still have Ford Motor Credit, which is in third position. So that's why we wanted to buy it, because protecting our money. Then I paid off the $25,000 taxes, and we called it Ford Motor Credit, and we didn't buy that one, but we made an agreement for $22,000 to pay it off. And then we ended up listing the property and sold for $255,000. The profit was about $140,000. I'm not real good with my math here, I just do the deals. But we made $143,000 in about 5 or 6 months on this property. And again, the initial investment was $18,000 with all Harry's expensive closing costs. And then we had to buy the HC Supply, and then just before closing is when I made the deal for the Ford Motor Credit. This thing got really messy near the end. Ford Motor Credit wouldn't talk to us. That's why we always get an authorization to release, but they still wouldn't talk to us. So we had to pay the old owner $1,000 to be on the phone and help negotiate. We're texting the old owner, say this, say that. And long story, they negotiated it down, we paid them $1,000. So whenever you have a situation like this, always maintain that relationship with the old owner. You never know when you're going to need them. It's better if you give them some money now and some later. So this was just a little $143,000 deal we just did, closed out I think a month ago. So, these liens and judgments, I can talk for hours about them. There's some really cool stuff, but there are some risks. Technically, Ford could foreclose, HC Supply could foreclose, but they don't. You got to learn who forecloses, who doesn't, but for the most part, most of them just leave the property alone. Now, I don't want to talk much about this because I got a bunch of, let me go through these real quick. This is buying Path of Progress. Light rail coming in, so we bought a bunch of different properties here. And then I'll go on to this one, Atmore. So this is an interesting one. It's some Todd TR. You're getting ready to be rezoned. Todd TR means you can go 3 stories, but you can do bonus, you can pay and go up to 5 stories, okay? So I really wanted this piece of property really bad. So what I did was, I was searching for the guy, his name is Twango, okay? And so that's his street name. And and he was in jail. And so we ended up, it was him, his father, and his brother all on the deed. So the first thing is, I wrote him a letter in jail. How we found out, we were reading his Facebook. You gotta go through, you gotta stalk people. The key to this business is being a private investigator, stalk. I wanted this property bad because I knew I owned a bunch of other property in the area, and I knew it would be worth a lot of money in the future. That Todd TR rezoning getting ready to happen. So I wrote him a letter in jail. He wrote me back. Went to jail, put under contract for $75,000 originally. But I said, look, you got your dad and your son. He goes, well, can I just buy it? And can I get all the money? I'm like, no, I have to work it with them. You can't get all the money. So I went to the dad. Oh, this is funny, but I couldn't find the dad anywhere. I was searching for him. I said, have you seen your dad? Because he lives on the street called Donna in a van. Okay, you have to go knock on the door. And I live on Sweetbriar, which dead ends on the other side of the plaza. I live 200 yards from this guy I've been searching for years. So I went at 10 o'clock at night. He used to know I was still at Rolls Royce. I drove my Rolls Royce up, knocked on the van, and I said, hey, I've got a deal with your son, buy the property. I gave him $500, got a deed. So, here's how we structured this deal. We go.
The other way, Carl.
Other way? The other way? Okay.
So what you're saying is Carl swings both ways, right?
No. So that's what
He doesn't swing either way.
I'm still looking for a wife, not having much luck, so I'm gonna be, my buddy stops you.
That's because you don't live in a real house.
That's probably part of it. Him and his mom are gonna take him to Russia to find a wife. They really are.
They're not getting taken to Croatia, huh?
To Russia, they said the best wives are there, so I'm getting there. But anyways, basically what I did was, I made a deal, got the deed for $350, and financing them $300 on a personal note at 0%. So I just created a $25,000 note, not attached to the property. Then I tracked down the brother and made a deal with him. I gave him an option, $15,000 cash or $25,000 over time. I'm paying him $300 a month, 0% on a personal note. And the guy in the prison, I sent him all these books, about investing and stuff. He's like, yeah, I want to be an investor. I was like, you know what? Instead of me giving you $25,000 cash, how about I give you 6% return on your money? He's like, would you do that? I said, yeah. So he financed it for a year, 6%. I changed them over. And luckily when I got out of jail, I paid them because it would not have been good. But so basically, these were all personal notes, not attached to the property. So I borrowed $25,000 from my old partner Ditch in first position at 10% accruing interest for 3 years. So I got in for no money down, money in my pocket, and money to help make the payments on the property. Just to create a way, because this property's going through the roof there, and I could probably sell it for $200,000 right now. And I wanted it because it's in the path of progress. But see, this is the area too. This is a simple thing anybody can do. Light rail coming in. All I did was click, skip trace. We bought this house. It was owned by Zito Latino. I put them in, looked up the owner, called him on the phone 2 minutes, and we made a deal. We bought this for $70,000. It comes extra lot. Right now we can sell the house for $150 and the lot for $80. This is another one. Just skip trace the owner, made the deal for $33,000. Zillow says worth $148, so it's worth some money. For this whole area, we bought this one for $12,000, probably worth $140, $130. So these were all. Here's another one. There's a house here. We just skip trace, called the guy. We bought it for $60,000. It burned down 7 days later. We got a check for $100,000 and then sold the lot for $95,000. So here's the thing: if your house, first of all, do not burn your houses down. But if you do, make sure you have good insurance and you use a public adjuster. So think about it, we paid $60,000, we got a check for $100,000 and then sold the lot for $95,000. So this is just an area we're just clicking, calling the people. This is stuff that even David Roberts can do. It's that simple, okay? Then there's another one we bought for $5,000, Defunct Corporation, sold for $93,000. So that's why I wanted the one in Atmore, because this whole area is going up. So you're holding stuff in the right area and getting for a good price, you make a fortune. Now here's another thing. This is another one that David Roberts was going after, and he didn't get it, okay? You remember this one, David?
Maybe.
Okay. So what happened was, with these foreclosures, we pulled up, it's owned by a dead person, skip trace, and there was one daughter. So we called her, then we called her, and we called her, and we called her. And then we started texting her, and texting her. And finally, about a week before the foreclosure, she tried Uncle Carl and called us back, and we made the deal. She wanted $750. She deeded this property for $750. That's been paid on for a year. Let me show you this one. But this one is 2104 Rushman. The reason I want to tell you about this is with these foreclosures, and I pick on David, but David is relentless. You have to be relentless on these people, and they typically don't do anything until right before the foreclosure. Yeah, sometimes beforehand. But because we're relentless, we went from calling, we switched over to texting. And that's what finally sort of broke through. And so take a look at this. This property had a $49,000 mortgage originally, and let me see. Go back. So it had a $49,000 mortgage. It's got 7 years left. We had $7,500 totally invested. We've got back our $4,000 fix-up monies back, plus we positive cash flow. We owe in the low 20s. It says it's worth 225. It's probably worth about 210 for selling conditions in. So we have close to a $200,000 profit with no money now, all our money back. And it's by being relentless, not giving up, and going after the person until she cried on the call. So that one takes too long.
It's not unusual.
What?
Yeah,
Okay. Here's another little deal. This was 2 lots. We bought it for $3,000. We just clicked on the GIS, skipped, called them, do you want to sell it? Yes. Bought it for $3,000, subdivided into 2 lots. We held it probably 3 years, sold for $80,000 out to realtors. We made about $73,000. There's a lot of just clicking, pointing, calling. That's cool. This will take too long. But I'll tell it real quick. Tax delinquent defunct corporation. And what happened on this one was they had deeded it into a trust. So a lot of times you'll see people put in the trust, and previous people were the owners. So it was a husband and wife that were divorced. So we went hard at the husband, and he's a real son of a bitch, and did all sorts of crazy shit to his wife. Yeah. But long story was, we finally got a hold of the wife, and we said, what are your plans? She goes, we ended up, we didn't get a hold of people. What do? You call their mom. So we called her mom. That's how we got a hold of her. And her mom goes, you don't want that. There's a $750,000 lien on that property. So what do? We run title. They put it into corporation before the lien attached. There's no lien on this property. So we tracked her down, and it took us, she's like, I don't have anything to do with it. I don't care. But we finally convinced her. She deeded us the property for $28,500. And we brought her in as a partner to give her 18% of the deal. And when we fixed it up and sold it, we made $228,000. We paid her a bonus of $36,000 that she did not expect to get. But here's the key to this one. The two keys to this is, if it's going through, this is going through a tax foreclosure, you just got to be on the people. You got to call, and when they don't respond, call their mom. I did that one time. I won't go into the story, and then a motorcycle gang was after me for a while, and I had to hide out. So it can go wrong. But this is an example of the persistence, and then talking to people and listening, and then solving the problem. And luckily, she got the property in divorce decree, so she was able to sign over her rights to us. So there's a little bit of luck in these things. St. Mark's, they're going the wrong way. This was a small $243,000 deal. Yeah, what happened was, this was, we got it from a guy named Gerald Crawford. He was a guy that works for Mitch and I, part-time. He's a pressure washer. He's in the neighborhood. And the neighbors said, hey, the guy died, and there's squatters in the property, okay? So the first thing that we did on this one is, well, we found out, we hired a genealogist. I knew this was a good deal, so I went and spent the money. It's a little bit, now we get in-house genealogists and people that build trees. But, so what happened was Frank was married to Virginia. She died first. We go on to Lewis Holmes. He died in a plane crash in '73. So it was Lewis, Anders, and Jack, the sons. And we couldn't find them anywhere. And this is where you got sort of private detective. David Roberts was going after this one, remember?
Yeah, what does that mean?
He was fine. But what broke it open to us
You
was...
got luck. You got luck.
No, it was a skill.
I bet you got the bar or something. Now, how do I work that? Lucky I get.
This is what I did. I went to the funeral home, and I said, I'm Carl Spill of Alliance Finance. I need to see your funeral book for, I think it was Frank's funeral. But so I got everybody that signed the funeral book, skip traced and called them. And one lady told me that when Beverly, when Lewis died, Beverly moved to D.C. and got married to a police officer outside of D.C. Now, I used to drink heavily. I don't anymore. But there's a 3 to 5 window you get, like, just things come in, you solve problems. So what happened was one night on the 5th beer, it was like, what if Beverly changed, probably the 10th beer, what if Beverly changed the kids' names? And that's why we can't find them. So our genealogist found this article, Hoffman marries Anders, and then we had it. So we had the people, but now this is so important, when you get this, you have to do what's called setting the table. So I called them up and said, hey, you own this property, or you got your heirs this property, Frank died without a will, so we have problems here. You have a tax foreclosure coming up, you have squatters in the house, they actually had a niece with a lease for $1 a month to 2040, which we'd already bought out. A niece with a lease, a Dr. Seuss book, a niece with a lease. Anyways, we ended up, setting the table and saying, hey, we'll pay you $35. And they're like, hey, it's found money, and it sounds like there are a lot of problems. So they sold it for $35,000.
$35,000.
Okay. And we sold it for $310 as a tear down on the property, made $243,000. Was a lot of work, yes. I worked this 9 months or more off and on, and I just wanted to see if I could get it done. Or sometimes we do stuff, even if we don't get all the way through, we learn something. There's been multiple deals like this that we've not gone through, but we've learned something that's helped us in our business. So that's what I looked at it as. This one we just got from Cole Cone. This is what everybody else has just turned out to be a tired landlord. This is bought for $55,000. Originally he won cash. We signed for cash. We didn't pull a Scott and like what Scott says people do, go change the terms. But the people would let us in the house. The tenants were. So we called them back and said, look, you still want to buy for $55,000. They won't let us in the house. Will you owner finance it with $5,000 down? He was tired of dealing with these people, so he owner financed it to us. That's where you can legitimately go back and say, hey, I can't see the inside of the house. I still want to buy it, but you got to work with me. So we were able to change the terms where Scott would approve. Would you approve on that?
Yeah, as long as it's legitimate.
Yeah.
It's not your business model.
Yeah. By the way, I have a mastermind group, $105 a month. We do 4 calls. Zoom is badass. It's not just me. I bring other people on, Steve Trang, Jeff Richmond, David Roberts, and then I have other national people too that come on, so it's a lot of different cool stuff.
Why 105 though?
Because everybody said the price is $97, so I said I'm gonna price it $105 because it makes you feel the pain of paying $100. That's the real reason I did it.
Okay, that sounds like a good reason.
Yeah.
What kind of interest rate did you give that guy on the note?
On which note?
On 47,000.
We're giving 6%. But it was stupid because he said, I'll take 5 or 6. And I was so quick to go, I said, okay, we'll pay you 6. And my partner stops, kicking me, going, Carl, slow down. could have even probably said 4%, but I was in such a hurry. Sometimes I screw up the negotiation. That was the time where I screwed up, but I was just happy he's gonna finance it for us. So, but I probably should have said, well, is it possible, could you do 4, and then sat there? I mean, so that's an example of being too quick in negotiations. We make a lot of mistakes, and that's a lot of.
Crimea River, it's still 6%.
Should have given 65 with no interest, and it all goes to principal.
We could have. This one would take too long. Well, let me go through this again, this is real quick. This one was, again, tax delinquent. David Roberts was going after it too. Didn't get it, okay? And what it was,
I'm sensing a theme here.
he's actually kicked my ass on so many deals too. When he talks next time, he'll be like, oh, I kicked Carl's ass on this deal,
Daniel's
this deal.
revenge is coming.
Yeah, I mean, he's kicked my ass on multiple deals he thought we had, and he sued us one time too. But thank you for suing us, David, because Greg Thompson is the attorney that sued us. We did such a good job suing us, and we use Greg for everything now. So it was thank you. I appreciate that. That was a good thing. So I'm serious. So,
This guy's an asshole. We need to hire him.
we need to hire him. He's the best
He's on our
asshole.
team now.
He's a bulldog.
So being sued can be a positive thing, okay? Now this is again one that David was going after, but what happened was, this is what I call the trifecta. Vacant house, dead person, tax delinquents. Those we go after and we never give up. So 2 of the 3 people were dead, and tax delinquent, and what else? Vacant house. I literally stalked this lady, for 9 months. I left notes, what?
You made it worse.
So I stalked this lady for 9 months. The one owner is still alive. I left notes on her doors, FedEx packages. I even, when I used to drink, I sat out there drinking, waiting for her to come home. I'm serious. But she finally called me one day. She said, Carl, I see you're trying to get a hold of me. I'm like, how did you know this? She goes, well, you left me enough notes. So I said, well, Jane, tell me what's going on with the property. Again, you're not here to buy it. You're here to, what's going on with the property? She says, well, my sister died, my brother died, and there's a $249,000 IRS lien on the property. But it expires next month, so now I can sell it. Because liens are good for 10 years, then they expire. So we end up having coffee, made the deal. She agreed to sell this house for 75. There's another property in Richland for 57. And this lot, says, I can't do anything to that lot. There was a house there, a too small building. I'll give that for free, the taxes. So what we did was, long story, the IRS lien was still good for another year. So we didn't have to pay the taxes and get her to carry a note for years. The IRS lien fell off. But the house on Richland, we ended up, you see, we got that? So the house on, was that? So we sold the house on Richland for $125. We made $57,000 on that one. My partner Mitch paid me $75,000 just to buy me out on this one. And then next week he turned around and sold it, made $20,000 more. That's okay. What a fucking dickhead.
And he didn't even buy you a case of O'Doul's.
Yeah. No, I'm fine with that. And then this little lot here, we end up doing a variance on it. Oops. We ended up getting a variance on it, and then we sold it for, damn it. We sold it for $95,000. We made $84,000. So this one deal that I stalked that lady for 9 months, paid off to be like $220,000. That's why when you see the trifecta, you stalk and you do not quit. Okay, here's another situation. We do partition sales. Buddy of mine bought.
Get a restraining order. Do you keep going? How does that work?
Well, no, you get somebody else to go. That's how it is. They get a restraining order, then you.
Asking for a friend.
For a friend. Yeah, well, when it's happened before, we just get somebody else to go. Okay?
So you go with the old term, buyer's order, restraining order.
That's it. I mean, I like it. You know, we've actually gotten people that have written us letters going, thank you for being persistent. Thank you for not giving up on us. and maybe if I ever get to speak again, I'll show you that one or somewhere else. But there's somebody sent a real nice letter. Thank you for giving, not giving up. Thank you for going and being persistent. So that also helps, because we're here to help you. You think we're getting nothing if we don't get involved. But here's one husband and wife. They were divorced, but they still own the house together. So we ended up calling the husband and saying, you know, what do you want to do? And he goes, man, I've been trying to do something for years. Well, what do you want? He goes, I want $15,000. I'm like, we can give you $15,000, but we have to own the property, do this partition sale. Now he's explaining the whole process. So he deeded this house for no money, not a penny. They didn't even give him $1. He deeded the house. In the contract, they promised to pay him $15,000. Then we went through, we tried to work a deal with the ex-wife. We tried everything. We actually stalked her too, and she wouldn't talk to us. So we hired Greg Thompson, the attorney that sued us from David Roberts. Okay, you see this? So thanks, David Roberts. We used Greg Thompson to do the thing. Now you've got to be careful. Normal partition sales, it's pretty standard. You hire attorneys, you go through it, it's not a big deal. When husband and wife, you've got to be careful. Because she had been living there and paying the payments. So she was entitled to the tax write-off, like the interest and the tax write-off on the property. Okay? So we got there to do the partition sale, and Greg goes, hey, man, we got to settle. I'm like, why? She can claim, and here's the thing is, we pulled our guy aside, and we said, did she exclude you from the house? No, I said we'll go back and visit. This means because you can exclude it from the house, then we may not have to do, but anyway, she's entitled to all this money, so we get to settle with her for $7,500. Long story, but so you got to be careful in these partition sales with her husband and wife. So we ended up doing that, and we negotiated with him to pay him, because he needed money, to pay him $5,000 up front and $3,000 more. We're like, hey, look, we don't know how this thing's going to turn out. We want you to stay. We want you to take the whole $15,000. He's like, no, I need money. I'll take $5 now, and if it works out, I get another 3 more. So we ended up. That's the mortgage payoff. What really sucked is it had a low interest rate. This would have been a great deal subject to or work with the ex-wife, but she wouldn't work with us. So it cost us a ton of money. Look at we ended up $43,000. We made $35,000 on the deal. But if we could have made a deal with the wife, it would have been a real sweet one. Look at all these expenses it was to sell it. It ate into a lot of profits. But still, it was a profit. Here's another thing. I love land. Like I said before, like fuck houses. I'm into land. This is probably 80% of what we do. This lot was owned by the same lady on Walford for 3 pieces. My partner Mitch at the time did not want this lot, and we left it out. I always get everything from the selling mode, and so I had to go back with her to see this one. I knew I went to the city. We subdivided into 3 lots, so I had to start the stalking process again, and I had to stalk her for 9 more months before she would call me back. I was even like, Jane, please call me. Jane, you hate me. Jane, what did I do to you? She finally called me, and we bought it for $20,000, subdivided into 3, and sold for $67,000. Not a home run, but it's the concept. When you see something that's subdividable like this, you got to be careful. I just recently bought one, but there's a pipe running through the middle that I didn't know. So you got to watch out for easements. You can get screwed. So be careful. Here's another land deal. The piece below that was the first one. 13 heirs, paying the ass, a year of getting these people together. So we bought the first lot for $62,000, and then we noticed there's another lot right there. This is my math. 1 + 1 divided by 3 is 4. I know that I teach funky ass math. So we got the first one. We went to zoning. We said, well, what if we buy this other one, and can we subdivide it into 4? They're like, yeah. So we paid full price for the other lot. Got it ready to be subdivided in 4, and sold it and made $166,000 on that. But actually, the guy never subdivided in 4. He only subdivided in 3, because when you subdivide in 4, it becomes a minor subdivision. You have to put curbs, gutters, sidewalks. So that's one thing we didn't know. But But he said, no, I'm not gonna do the 4, I'm gonna do the 3. And that's, but still, that was a pretty cool deal. Goat farm, we'll skip the goat farm. Go to another. Yeah, this is another 21 air deal. Vacant house, again, vacant houses, and there's so much money in these vacant houses. It's huge, and a lot of them, there are no mortgages on them, and they're behind on taxes. Okay, a fair amount of them are free and clear. So what happened was the people died, and long story, let me see if I got the, turned out there's 21 heirs. We had to build this huge family tree out. And then what we did is most of the heirs were close to places in South Carolina, so we threw a barbecue, met them there, got most of the signatures, we put it together. And this house, we see, so this house right now, it's actually worth probably about $250. We probably owe $60,000 on it. Yeah.
Now, when you do the barbecue, was it a vinegar-based barbecue or a mustard-based barbecue?
Vinegar.
Okay.
Yeah, now mustard, but it should, but South Carolina is more mustard. Maybe
Well,
they say-
that's why I was asking, because I mean, like, what, like, if you're gonna host a barbecue, like, how you gonna, like, attract the most?
Well, I didn't tell them what kind of barbecue either. I just hosted a little barbecue. That's the key.
See, these are the points you should pick up on.
You don't go into details. If I
Don't
would've
want
said
to
it
go
was
into details of the
vinegar-based,
barbecue,
they
you
would've
might
been,
offend somebody with the improper barbecue.
especially South Carolina, because they like mustard sauces there.
That's right.
So that's an important point. Don't tell them what kind of barbecue you're bringing them. You go through. So it's Selden. Here's another one. We bought this, another deal that David Roberts was chasing too. But what happened was the guy's name was misspelled. And long story, we searched and found it was misspelled in the records. He had been in prison, and we found him over on, what street is that? Selden. He was actually living on Selden, where the other house was. So we bought the lot for $12,500 plus some taxes, and we just got done doing the variance on it. We got that passed, so it's buildable, and we sold it. It's under contract. It's supposed to close out the 1st or the 6th of June for $140. So that's gonna be $100,000 and some odd deal. Go through some of this stuff. Reach out to us. See, stop. I got through all the slides.
Was that 70-something?
Yeah, I skipped some of them.
That was good.
Okay, so we go back. Might go just a couple other crazy ass deals we did.
Well, all right, go back to whatever you want to go back to, but open it up to questions, because I feel like the audience is probably gonna have questions.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you real quick about this. This is another deal that was brought to us. We never, got Mike Sluch, a guy I was working with, on another deal. He had another property that had fallen through, but he said, look, we pay $500 referral fees. This guy said, hey, look, I know someone that needs to sell a church. Okay, so we ended up, calling him up, and the whole key to these deals is, what's going on? We're here to solve your problem. He says, well, the church is getting ready to be sold in about 2 months or less for taxes. We had sold to a guy, he didn't make the payments, we had to repossess it. He tore out the HVAC system. We just want to be done. We don't have the money. So we ended up working out a deal.
Oh, wait. How, the church owes taxes though? I don't understand. Aren't they exempt?
Churches are exempt, but when they sold it, I guess the new church didn't apply for the exemption or something, so they were charged taxes.
Interesting.
Yeah, most churches are, but I think you have to apply and show that you're a legitimate church. This guy was just a scam artist.
So you didn't back apply?
We asked them if there was anything we could do. They said no. So, but that's a good question. So long story.
Obviously.
Well, so basically, we told them we could pay them more money over time. So we have a $31,000, 0% interest at $500 a month. And then a lien popped up for $9,700 from the old church, the church afterwards. So I said, again, I went and said, here, look, there's this lien, what are we gonna do about it? This has to be paid. And the guy's going, look, we need to close this, like, get ready to go to court, we need to close this. So I said, he's like, whatever, just come up with something. I'm like, well, at first, we were gonna pay him cash or something, so we just said, okay, we'll take this lien over, and then we're gonna just, we'll do this 0%, we'll take the lien over, but here's what I need to do. I need to borrow money to fix the church up, so I'm gonna put you in the second position, and I'm borrowing $70,000 in the first position. Well, my company Alliance Finance is the one that borrowed the $70,000 first position, put it in the second position, so now I can sell that note to raise the money to fix the church. That makes sense? So I didn't switcheroo at the last second, but it was because he had a lien. I said, I'll work with you on the lien if you allow me to do this. And he's like, that's fair, I'm fine with that. So now, he's in second position, I have this in first position, that I can sell that note off to raise capital.
Where was the church?
It's 641 Amafro Lane in Rock Hill. And we have it listed for $199 right now. And we're into it for like, in the set with all the stuff, not including this 70,000.
Can I get your next church? I feel like I.
Sure. We'll even order finance it to you.
Why didn't you finance yourself $70,000 and sell it off to raise money? Why not just get someone to finance it for you?
Well, because we want to leave the 0% financing note on there. So if I open up the first position, I can use this to sell this off. You see what I'm saying?
You could have just done a personal.
Oh, I could. I probably, you know what? I probably could have said a personal note. Yeah. I probably could have done a personal note, but I think he's a little bit weird in the situation because the other churches screwed him over. That's weird, churches screwing churches. But anyway, so I think he wanted to be secured against the property.
Good altar boys.
Yeah.
You know a lot about ultra boys, don't you?
So this is the picture of the church. And so I think in total it's around 70-ish right now.
Okay, I want a real church.
We were gonna call it the Church of Uncle Carl, but I just a bunch of goats.
I need a Steeler.
So let me open up the questions. I had more slides, but I wasn't allowed to present them, so we can open the questions now.
Yeah, I think open up to questions for 10 or 15 minutes or however, like whatever, and then you can go on to other deals and stuff like that. I think that's a good way to go. And
So I mean,
I got a couple of questions. What do you use for a skip tracing?
we use IDI Core. They're really good. There's a lot of stuff you have to go through to get that.
You weren't supposed to talk about that.
Right.
Sorry, that wasn't in our agreement.
We use IDI Core. You can use, TLO. They're a real good company, but they banned me. I won't go into that.
yeah, IDI core is good.
So you got to use a good skip trace company. Most of them. You guys can use Been Verified,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Yeah, so I think I use Been Verified, and you get so far, and then you use IDI Core after that, because IDI Core will charge you for transactions, right? Whereas Been Verified, you can pay like $100, $200 a year, unlimited,
Yeah.
or whatever, and it'll give you a lot of information, and sometimes better than IDI Core.
Sometimes.
But then if you reach a dead end with Been Verified, then you can use IDI Core, and then put in charges you. But
It's like $1 a pull, 65 cents a dollar a pull. It's worth it. You get better numbers, better information. Because I don't want to be competing against a lot of people. I want to be going these niche things that a lot of people stay away from. You need to be a private investigator. You need to be able to do good skip tracing. You got to be able to solve problems and take on problems that people think are too tough, that they aren't. Like building these family trees, they're not that hard. You know why they're not that hard? Because I make somebody else do them.
You use the
True.
Mormon.
The what?
You use the Mormon system.
There's a lot of stuff you have to do to get it. You mostly have a brick and mortar building. But if you use them in tandem, then Verified will tell you the death date, when that person died, and where they died.
alcohol beer, so maybe this. What was the question?
I just.
Oh, she was talking about VIN verified and IDI core.
Well, but
You-
I think you're making the distinction between like the federal level IDI core or something?
Yeah,
I didn't know there was a different level.
there's a level that will literally give you everything, down to their social security number.
Their license plates.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You can take our stalking up to a whole new
You have to
level.
have a lot of different things, they come and do an inspection, and.
And I'm banned
and-
by that
and
core, and I can't
we
tell
are
you
all
why.
kind of blacklisted on
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's sort of business, but we still find other ways with the data. But it helps to have a good company like that. You talk about like, yeah, the Mormons have a great site too.
Yeah.
I think
For
that's
genealogy.
just for genealogy, yeah.
The Mormons got a good database.
They got great information.
Mormons?
Yes.
The
Yep.
religion?
Yes, they do.
They're tracking us all?
Yes.
Genealogy, bro, it's important for them.
Huh. I know they're good telemarketers. If you want to hire the best telemarketers in the industry, you hire Mormons. You know that, right? Utah? It's,
Yeah.
because they actually have to spend 2 years cold knocking on doors and stuff, right?
They'd be great door knockers. Find some Mormons.
Yeah. And so, when you hire the premium telemarketers, they are Mormons in Utah. This is not a fucking lie. I'm not making this shit up. This is fucking legit. The best telemarketers in the industry are Mormons. Why?
Because they're used to knocking on doors. That's they do.
They
Yeah.
fucking have to knock on doors for 2 years if I can get turned down to fucking.
Yeah, that's a thing.
They're like, hey, do you know Romney? Fuck you.
But we also do lots of lot subdividing, assemblage, and we learn a lot of zoning loopholes. Anything that's nichey, that's different. Again, people think's hard. We want to learn it. We want to know it. I've got some stuff I'm working on now. I think it's going to be even better than anything I've shown so far. And we're beta testing it, but I'm super excited about that. So we're always like Scott says, we're always learning something new and adding more weapons to our arsenal. So we want to be able to give ways to work on over leveraged houses. So again, we just keep learning, adding these things, and we just keep getting more better. That's the whole key every day. Go ahead.
What would you tell a new person that's listening to you right now that's like, well, this is way over my head? Like, so what should the new person take as a lesson from you and how they can implement it in their business and as they go through and try to find deals?
Well, first of all, I would say if you spent 4 years going to college, first of all, you're a dumbass. But if you're going to get in all this debt and you're going to work hard, people will not work hard for themselves, but they will go work hard for somebody else. So this stuff is not real hard what we do. I'd love to tell you we're some kind of guru geniuses, but a lot of it's reaching out.
Obviously not.
Obviously not. You know, I mean, I can't even spell shit up. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But I would say just learn it, jump in there, and figure it out. I think it's not as hard as it looks. You just gotta study stuff and recreate stuff.
I'm gonna need you to revise your answer.
Okay.
You got a new person in the audience trying to figure out how to find deals.
How to find them?
Yeah, how to make money in an industry.
Tax delinquents are the number one. Foreclosures are good. And then learning how to split lots and land. I tell you, land is huge. So I would learn the GIS system. We find a lot of our things just live in the GIS system. So I would do things like that. That's what I would concentrate on if I was new.
You have to explain what the GIS is and why people do it.
Just learn. Keep learning.
Look, and take action.
And take action. Keep learning, take action, and figure out the solution to whatever problem it comes.
Yep. That's it.
I
Got
have
it.
a property in Gastonia
Are you
that I'm
leaving
trying
that
to subdivide, but it's only 100 feet wide, although the house is beside it, it's manager that will work with the county and do that process?
Yeah, I mean, you can hire, but I would go down to the zoning, call them and make sure you get it done first. Like so go to zoning, can I subdivide it, and just hire a surveyor to do it.
I did, but they told me that I have to get a survey first in order to do the grandfather law, whatever, for the other properties. Because it needs to be like, each one needs to be 60 feet, so, but it's only 100. So they would do 50 if the houses around it are 52.
So you may have to just, I would follow what they say. If they say do that, then get the survey first.
Does anybody know a surveyor in Gastonia?
No, all the surveys are so damn busy. You have to wait weeks to get on their list of, like I was talking about attorneys and surveyors. You have to go to their house, cook them dinner, mow their lawn, do their laundry, and they'll think about possibly considering putting you on their list. It's like that now. They've got so much business. They're just like, well, okay, I might take it.
And then if they don't have business, you're like, why don't you have any business?
Exactly.
What's wrong with you?
In the back.
I was just gonna say, join the mastermind group, honestly. I joined the mastermind group, I don't know, 6-7 months ago, and if you suck in everything that's there in the old episodes and stuff like that, I mean, it's laid out. There is a blueprint, literally.
Yeah, we archive every mastermind. Everything is archived. You can go back and watch them all. And again, it's just cool stuff. And we have badasses like David Roberts over there, Jeff Richmond, and maybe someday. And Joe Myers, yeah.
Have my people talk to your people and negotiate a successful contract.
We'll negotiate the contract. We need to get Justin on there too.
I've already done it.
That's right. You did it a long time ago.
It was for people.
Obviously, it wasn't.
I didn't remember it. It must not have been that good. It must not have been that good. Who were you on? I don't remember.
Nobody knows.
Like the fourth or fifth
Let's
one
move
we
on.
did. It's like right when we started.
I remember now.
Yeah, that's when you had two people.
That's right.
And then you change business plans,
They're
and
now gonna- it's now
then it
considered-
skyrocketed thereafter. It's like, I'm gonna have better fucking people.
No, Justin, I think was good. Was yours good, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't bad.
Wasn't that okay? So you can go back and watch Justin's. I don't even remember. No. But
Can you talk a little bit more about why you like land better than houses, and are you just subdividing or reselling, or are you developing the land too?
we're just wholesaling, or we're buying it and reselling it. What I like about land is every builder wants it right now. And so there's not as much competition as land. Okay? So less competition. You can do a lot of creative subdividing. You can do, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it. So I think it's competition. It's sort of such a
Less
neat
competition.
yeah, and you're not getting as many phone calls and letters on the land versus the houses. So that's why we like it. I do think it's gonna get more saturated. I think it's gonna get more difficult. And another good reason to do land is David Roberts doesn't do land. Okay? So that's another good reason. Right, David?
Not much of it.
He doesn't do much, so less competition. But I mean, we just flipped the lot on Eastway, we bought for 62, sold for 125. Did one in Tresevant, had 13 years, bought for 35,000. That was a 9-month process, and sold it. I think sold close of day for 125. We got a lot of $20,000, $30,000 land deals. We got a lot of these $60,000, $70,000 land deals. But check for easements. I've got 2 that I didn't check, and there's pipes running through them, so that's
As soon as you don't check, you get fucked mad.
hey,
That's a rule.
do as I say, not as I do. Or no, no, that's not true. Most of the stuff I say is good, but sometimes I don't follow my checklist, and that's when I get into trouble. So I've got 2 lots right now with easement issues. So I put a doghouse on them. I'll figure out something. So you can sell anything if you finance it. Right, Avi? Anything can be sold with owner financing. So I'm
Avi
going.
is speaking in July or August. What do we book? When are you speaking, Avi?
Whatever you say.
He's got great. You follow. He's got some cool stuff. He gets these pieces of shit houses, and then he finances them above retail. And is everybody paying so far?
Well, I finance them below retail, just below retail.
Just, no, he's above
This
retail.
guy over here.
No. The one you posted the other
Smartest
day.
guy in the room over there in the corner, just like
There's holes in the floors. Oh yeah, probably just below retail fixed up, but these aren't fixed up properties.
You know how you know that he's the smartest guy in the room?
How?
His fucking name's Avi.
Yeah, what the hell?
It's obvious. It's obvious.
Yeah,
this guy right there.
How did you get that name anyway?
Because they're like, this guy's a fucking genius. I'm gonna
Oh,
fucking
okay.
name him Avi.
But he's got some cool owner financing stuff that we're going to incorporate into.
He's
some
just
stuff.
chilling in the corner, learning a little bit from Carl, just so having to make it here. This guy's killing it, making these little shitty deals, increase this cash flow. I'm just pumping up your, I'm pumping you up. I'm pumping. It's like a boxing match. I'm pumping you up for July, August.
Guys, there's so many ways to do this business. There's like what Avi does. You know, there's Melissa Hall, there's David Rock, there's all these different ways to do stuff. You just gotta learn and put it into place and figure out what works for you. But there's 11 ways to do this business. And you know, you could be a lease option person like Jeff Richmond. Is it easy, Jeff?
Sometimes.
No, it's never, none of this stuff is ever easy. There's always a fair amount of work, but.
Sometimes.
What do you say on the text messages? Like, what's the initial?
It all depends. You know, hey, this is Carl, or I'll try something like, hey, you know, something like that, get him to respond. You know, this is, you know, how are you, or something, and then, or sometimes I'll say, hey, I don't know what I say half the time. It's, you know, it might be like, hey, you know, you have a property over at 123 Main Street, and I was just curious what your plans are for it. We're doing massive texting too, and that's working okay for us. And then we have cold callers that are doing really well. You know, we got cold callers from the Philippines. They're great. They're $4.50 an hour. They get us about one deal every month and a half, which is great. You know, we got a deal in Cherryville we're getting for Cherryville. Is it Cherryville? Cherryville. Okay, we're getting for $26,000. It's probably worth $90,000. You know, but we're getting for $26,000. We can pull Avi and sell for $120 on their financing, right?
The only thing I do is I take instead of selling it to an investor, I'll sell it to an occupant, and they don't have the labor costs. You can sell it just whatever repair material costs.
And it's like selling to somebody that might have issued, like maybe they don't have a social security card, maybe they you know, have crappy credit, and they want to own a house.
All right, hold on. Let me interrupt you for a second. I'm not fucking around. And fuck you, Avi. I know you're conservative. I know you got your little polo shirt. When I'm saying this is the smartest fucker in the room, I mean, we all know that usually I am the smartest fucker in the room. I mean, that's obvious. Obviously, I'm the smartest fucker in the room. This guy over here.
Look,
Listen,
I
don't want to hear your shit. I don't want to hear this shit. This guy, I've heard a lot of business models. And maybe I'm pumping when he's going to speak in July and August. And maybe I've made him feel guilty for he needs to come here and speak in July. When is it, July or August?
Either one.
All right, anyways, July or August, Avi's going to be here. And I'm not fucking around. He's maybe he's dumb. I don't know. Maybe he's dumb. But he's got the smartest business model I've seen in a long time. Right. I mean, it's fucking good. It's fucking good. Let me tell you something. He's buying piece of shit houses for 20 grand, selling them for 60 grand.
More.
Okay, well, look, I like to undersell.
Okay.
Okay? So he buys them for 20, he sells them for 60, he finances the whole goddamn thing. So he's making 40 grand in equity every month, right? For one transaction, but he's doing 2 or 3 or 4. I don't know. How many are you doing? How many do you want him into?
3 or 4 months.
Yeah, 3 or 4 months, right? So he's making 40 grand in equity, right? Plus $500 in cash flow. Does that make sense? Right? You buy something for 20 grand, you know, and you're spending like, I don't know, like maybe 8% interest on that, right? And then you sell for 60 grand, and you're selling it on payment, maybe you make it 12% interest. So you have 40 grand spread, a 4% interest spread. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Fucking nuts. So he's making 120 grand equity plus 1,000 or 2 in cash flow every month. This fucking guy over here.
I do think that should be one of the, you know, we're gonna implement more of that too.
Yeah. You're gonna get almost as smart as Avi next month. 2 months from now. Well, what good is smart if you don't implement it, right? I'm fucking the smartest guy in the room, right? But I don't implement. I just fucking talk about it. But this guy over here, he's fucking doing it.
But I like having multiple things, because you can't do that strategy on everything. You can't. But it's a good strategy to have, along with some of the wholesaling and some of the crazy stuff that we do.
That's a genius. He goes after exactly what he wants to do that shit. That's a fucking genius. July, August. Ticket sales. Start tomorrow. $35.
Hey guys, any other questions about any of this stuff, any other things? I mean, I'm excited. I'm proud of what, as a team, to be able to put together and do and figure out. This shit is pretty badass.
Carl, do you do any coaching, any mentoring?
No, I don't really. We joint venture. We also have a mastermind, but no real coaching and one-on-one stuff. I just but bring me a deal and we'll talk. Well, you know, I've joint ventured with Joe Myers here, and oh, by the way, on the last time when Joe presented, it wasn't Erica that got the last 2 signatures, it was me. I just got to make that clear, right, Joe? Jewel Flower. Erica got in touch with the granddaughter that I closed out the 2 people. I got to give credit where credit's due.
And when we're talking about Joel Flower, we're not talking about the truck.
What? What was that?
When we're talking about Joel Flower, we're not talking about Joel Flower.
No, Jewel Flower. Wasn't it? Okay.
Just making sure.
Okay, I'm out of slides, and so.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions.
How do you find these super niche attorneys who do this like super specialized stuff? Besides having someone sue you and using that attorney, how do you find these super specialized attorneys for this stuff?
You ask other attorneys. You ask other investors. That's how you find. It's everything is through a referral. Okay. You know, it's like when we first started doing our, we didn't know what a variance was. We have this small lot, what do we do with it? Somebody said you can do a variance. I'm like, literally, I said, what the fuck is a variance?
Really?
Yes, I don't know what that is.
How long ago was that?
That was probably about 4 years ago.
6 months.
Yeah, and so I'm like, so somebody says, well, that's where you take the lots and you hire this attorney. I'm like, who does it? So I asked around and somebody said, David Murray does it. I called David Murray and said, well, how do I do a variance? He goes, can you write a check? I'm like, yeah, you write me a check? Okay. And you get a survey.
Yeah. How do you do a tile job? Yeah. You write a check?
You write a check. That's what he said. So I wrote him a
How do you
check.
frame a house? Yeah.
And now I'm this brilliant guy that does these $100,000. We did one on East 17th Street. We made $127,000. You know, and that's how brilliant. Write the check to the expert. The expert came from asking other people. It's really that simple.
What kind of setbacks do they give you on that variance?
On the one East 19th Street?
Yeah, with a small lot like that, 'cause it doesn't look like there's much buildable space there.
They gave us, where we could do 10 feet from the back and 10 feet from the front. Now, it used to be like 30 from the back. They allowed us to do 10 from the back and 10 from the front. We kept the sides the same. But when we do the variance of East 19th Street one, somebody that used to be in my mastermind, who owned the house above there, went against us. So I had to battle her out, when we won and got it done. But yeah, it's just pretty much ask if it makes sense that they grant them. There very few variances do they not grant these days. They want houses.
They want density.
They want density. So, there's just a lot of things that a lot have to be built for 1990, a lot of record for 1992. There's some stuff, you can mess these up. So it can't be something that's been subdivided recently. They won't allow you to do that, there's no hardship on that. So. Okay, guys, any other questions?
Are you giving out drink tickets?
Anybody?
I think there's some shy people that want some questions answered.
Okay. Any other things?
Carl, if you find a lot and you see that it's, 80, 90% in a flood zone, would you just pass up on that, or?
No, actually, I have one slide that I forgot to talk about. Let me see if I can find that.
Golf course is the thing that.
Now, flood zones, you gotta be careful, and I don't know much about them. Let me see if I can find one. But it depends how bad it's in the flood zone, whether you can take it out. And there's a person you can call in the city that will do that, and there's companies that take them out of flood zones. But all we did was buy it for cheap, listed on the MLS, and where the hell is Grafton?
Grafton's at the end, Carl.
Okay.
Good job, Andrew. Are you giving away goat shirts? Shouldn't you?
Oh, yes, I've got Uncle Carl Go shirts.
Shouldn't you throw them to people that have?
Okay, so here's this one. See, we bought these two lots for $1,500 a piece, but they also had judgments on them and a bunch of other stuff. We paid the owners $1,500 a piece. We listed that one right there for like $29,000. Luckily, Edwin Wilson's a friend of mine, the realtor. He said, Carl, you listed this too low. We're gonna pay you $43,000 for it. Okay. So Edwin Wilson bought it from me, and he knows how. There's ways to take. See, where it's like roll lines through it.
Which ones are you talking about? You talking about the three up there on the top?
No. This lot right here is the flood. This is the flood zone. See, this is the flood zone, and this is the really bad
Oh,
flood
the
zone.
one's not even highlighted.
Yeah. So,
Gotcha.
but you can take them out of the flood zone by doing certain things. And we did some research on it, but we could have done that, sold for more, but we just listed an MLS. And then luckily, and we listed it too low, but luckily Edwin paid us $43,000. But we also had a bunch of judgments that we had to deal with on that. But oh yeah, let me show you, anyone who wants, mostly extra larges, I've got some goat shirts here.
Extra large, small, and 2X.
So I've got,
And a little medium.
let me see. You know what, I didn't tell the goat farm story. Okay. Where's the special one?
No.
Yeah. Where were they? There's a separate one.
Carl's gonna have his table set up in the back.
No, there's one to have, here it is, so.
Well, let's, go ahead and take one more question, and then we can excuse people that need to go, and fill up their gas tank if they can. And then everybody else can just hang out and chill or
But
whatever.
see, I've got two versions. This one, they sent, this is what it's supposed to look like, okay? So they sent me these. I mean, this was the first design, but they made a mistake and sent me the blackface coat ones. So,
Yeah, with the liberals, it's always a mistake with blackface.
so they sent me
It's
these.
just an accident.
They sent me these, I'm like, well, I don't know if this would be a good thing for me to be, because I'll be, because I'm a liberal.
Yeah,
They would think I was a
we get it,
racist,
yeah.
so.
Let's not make this any more awkward than it already is.
But let me go back real quick to the goat. Where's the goat? Okay. But so, for people who've heard, there's a piece of property, and I used to drink heavily. So I was at the bar getting drunk. The bartender says, hey, my mama's house is going into foreclosure. So I was like, we'll buy the property. And what it turned out on this property, which is pretty cool, you see, this is the property there. TPK surrounded it on two sides, okay? Well, it's annexed, this whole area is county out here. So if TDK annex it, I can build 2 houses and TDK is worth a lot more money. So I called the city manager up and said, hey, will you annex this piece of property into the TDK? And he's like, come down and see me, son. So drive down there, talk to him, he says, you know, we're not gonna annex it in, we're building a baseball field and we wanna buy your property, but we don't need it. I said, well, what will you pay me for the property? He says, oh, maybe we'll pay you $85,000. I'm like, well, that's a little bit low. We ended up doing a short sale, got it for $50,000. And then I went back to him and he said, you know what, we can give you 65. I'm like, why did the price go down? He goes, well, I think 65 is a good price. So I said, let me ask you this. You said you're not going to annex it, you have no fucking jurisdiction. Yes. It's zone agriculture because of the county. He goes, yes. Well, I said, I could open a fucking goat farm. So we put Uncle Carl's Goat Farm, made t-shirts, we goat cupcakes, because Stasas is from Bulgaria and he, raises goats. So we rented some goats and we rented some goats and we put this big Facebook Live production on. That day they offered us $100,000 closed in 7 days. So we positively extorted the town of TUK to buy the property for more money. And that's how, that's how the Uncle Carl's Goat Farm got made. And then I had a bunch of t-shirts made up. So, so it'd be great. Yeah, anybody wants one, just send me a picture of me wearing it with my phone number. I love it. I give them to investors and then they wear them around with my phone number on it. So, but anybody wants, we got extra larges and stuff over there. Let's put them over here.
What size do you have?
2X, extra large, small,
Extra
kids
large.
small.
We'll take an extra.
Okay. Okay, so, Ben, you can be charged with shirt distribution. I've done deals with Ben, he owes me. He can be the shirt distributor.
I taught you the variant stuff.
Oh, okay.
Who's that guy?
You're the one that did that? See, I didn't even remember.
Credit where credit's due, remember?
XL?
Yeah.
So you're gonna speak next month? What are you doing?
No.
Sure.
Not yet, I'm not ready.
Well, let us know when you're ready.
But, so, yeah, anybody have any other questions or any other?
Is there an average timeline or cost associated when you change the land for the variance and or subdividing?
The variance typically takes about 3 months. The subdividing, it depends. Probably about doing the survey, going to the city, the whole thing, probably 3-4 months. And every now and then I've got a magic wand, and I'm not kidding. I've subdivided some stuff in 24 hours, but I can't tell you how to do that. But I can sometimes.
Is there an average cost?
Don't say anything.
Is there an average
Because I've done it
cost
too.
for variance?
What?
Average cost.
A variance is now about $5,000, but you can do it on your own sometimes. But if you got somebody, you don't know what you're doing, you mess up and you have to appeal and do $7,000, I'm glad to pay the $5,000. It's like insurance is done right.
When do you do variance? Like, what is your deciding factor on when to do?
The variance we do are lots that are too small to build on, that were lots of record before 1992. Okay.
What happened in '92?
That's when they changed the ordinances. So for some reason, if there's a lot of record before 1992, it's too small, you can apply for a hardship and get the variance. But that's just one of the variants that can be done. There's ways you can, there's 2 houses on 1 lot sometimes, it's not subdividable. You can apply for a variance. And then Brian O'Linky's done some really fast stuff on variances too. But there's all sorts of other kinds of variances that you can get.
So, let me give you an example.
Okay.
Let's say that you had a lot that was 0.83 acres, okay? And you needed it to be 1 acre in order to subdivide it into 3 lots. Would you try and get a variance to be able to still subdivide it into 3 lots? Now, you can subdivide it as is.
It's
into
worth the
2 lots.
compensation.
You know what you do? You call David Murray and send it to him and see what he says. That's what you do. You go to the expert and ask him. That's what we do all the time. Can we do this? Can we, and actually it's wrong in one thing, one time. I won't go into long as you can increase the value. Sometimes it's not quite double, you know, but sometimes it's almost double by being able to do. So we look for double lots, triple lots, houses with land. I mean, there's one on my last time, there's a house on Tennyson, an L shaped, and we subdivided off there, left them, and they got to keep the house, and we got the land. We bought it for 17, sold it for 58. So we're always looking for stuff that people don't normally see. But unfortunately, I talk too much, and now more people do this stuff. But what I'm hoping is we get probably 20% of our deals joint ventures. We're hoping to up that to 50%. So we're hoping people will bring us deals that we can partner on. So.
You're staying out of Salisbury, right?
No, we're decided to leave Charlotte, and we're going into Salisbury and Concord, Dallas. 100%. So.
I heard Spencer is a really great area to focus there.
Spencer, okay.
East Spencer.
East Spencer. Okay, I'll go there. Thanks. No, we are.
Really booming now. Really booming.
No, we actually are going to do a little bit in Salisbury. We're doing more Concord, Kannapolis. There's a lot of rednecks that don't know things that work there in Salisbury, so we're going to head to Concord, Concord, Kannapolis. What? Yeah, there's all the.
Kidding, but not.
You know, it's like this one house we just got. Guy has this huge trunk flat, so I can't wait to victim.
He's making America great again.
I'm gonna make America even greater and kick you out of your house. So. I think people know that I'm not a big Trump fan here.
That's the exception, not the rule, though.
Yes, I really don't think there's hardly anybody worse in this world than Trump.
No, I hear the Middle East and gas prices and everything else is going crazy.
No, thank God we got a great president now. We are so much.
Name one thing that's better. Name one thing that's better.
Man, he's helping get the shots out of people's arms.
Oh, God.
And
Yeah, the same page that Trump is up. The Trump scene.
Chaos. Okay, enough of politics. No, enough politics. But yes, Trump is going to go to jail. Bad person. Biden good. That's all you need to know. And you know.
You know that the kids in cages is triple in the last.
So we're targeting the rednecks, the redneck Trump supporters that it's not very smart. So we're going to go start marketing to these guys and.
No, he knows it's false. As a matter of fact, you just fucking
No.
It's all good.
There are some good Trump supporters, just like there's some good devil worshippers. You can't lump them all in one bag. Okay? You can't. So,
anyways, Carl will be here. He'll be here. And, well, whatever. The point is, if you want to fucking leave, nobody cares. If you want to stay, we're going to fucking stay and party until it's 1999. You know? But if you got to go work or go get gas, not that you can find gas right now, I'm just saying, then fucking chill. But I don't want you to feel guilty about leaving right now, because he's the goat farm guy who's going to tell you how great Biden is, when we all know that he's a fucking disaster.
by the way, any Biden fan, we got free beer.
Carl has free drink tickets from the Trump-loving, American-loving, red-loving, blood American motherfucker. And as a good lib, he's going to give away my hard-earned beer money.
Yeah. What's up, James? We good? Free beer, okay.
Yeah, I'll take one.
Okay.
I'm riding with Biden.
Thanks.
All right, good. Here.
Thank you for the shirt. No, I'm not taking nothing from you. I like Trump.
Oh,
I like Trump.